Chapter 1. The Overprotected Teenager. Diagon Alley was bustling with activity. A young man in a black robe stood amidst the crowd, gazing up at the twilight-stained sky. He sighed softly. It had been 11 years since he arrived in this magical world. 11 years. From birth until now, his worldview, outlook on life, and values had all shifted, allowing him to gradually accept this new reality. Do you know how he spent the past 11 years? Master, you should go back, a voice called from behind. A well-dressed middle-aged man carefully reminded him. After a few seconds without a response, the middle-aged man took a slow breath and was about to speak again when the young man interrupted him. Isn't there still a few minutes? Let me stay a little longer. But master and madam, didn't they say that the time before 6 o'clock is at my discretion? Aaron replied, exasperated. Also, what should you call me outside? Boss, the middle-aged man said, looking very embarrassed. That's right, Jins, Aaron nodded in satisfaction. By the way, how much money did my small shop make today? Almost 8 galleons, Jins replied, still looking embarrassed. 8 galleons wasn't a fortune, but it wasn't insignificant either. It was barely enough to buy a wand in this world. However, to the housekeeper, this number was hard to accept. He couldn't understand why his young master would leave his vast family fortune to run a modest drink shop in this alley. But he had no choice but to comply with the young master's wishes. Ensuring Aaron's safety and returning home on time every day was his only task. He couldn't control the rest. Not bad, Aaron said casually, indifferent to the amount. Jingle bell. The alarm clock on the counter rang. Aaron looked at the butler, who gestured for him to leave, best, and walked over reluctantly. Actually, I can manage on my own, Aaron said. Of course, young master, we all know that you can, but necessary rules must be followed. This is the order of the master and your father. Heh! Aaron laughed sarcastically, but said nothing more. He grabbed a handful of flue powder, walked into the fireplace in the shop, and clearly stated, Castle of Gaius, before sprinkling the powder. A green flame ignited and then quickly extinguished. In the blink of an eye, Aaron had disappeared, returning home. The butler nodded in relief. Just as he was about to take out his wand to apparat, he put it away with a self-deprecating smile. Half a minute later, he repeated what Aaron had done. After they left, 2 figures appeared on the wall of Aaron's beverage shop. They looked at each other and smiled, preparing a cup of hot tea for each other, though they were not familiar with one another. When will this end? The person on the left said, a little depressed. Who knows? But it should be soon. The young master is very talented, and he's already 11 years old. It's time for him to go to school. That's true, but I'm more concerned about the shift change in 2 days' time. Castle of Gaius. Every day at 6 o'clock in the evening, a house elf waited by the fireplace, and today was no exception. Rumble. The fireplace crackled. Get ready, the young master is coming back, the house elf reminded himself. Almost as soon as Aaron appeared, the house elf used cleaning magic on him. The dirt on his clothes from the flue powder was cleaned up, making his attire look brand new. Thanks, Joby. Master, it is our honor to serve you, Joby said excitedly. Immediately afterward, the butler also appeared in the fireplace, and Joby repeated the cleaning magic. Jins just nodded slightly, feeling that what Joby did was justified. After all, sweeping and cleaning were indeed among the duties of a house elf. Where are my parents? They haven't come back yet? Aaron asked. Have they come back yet? Aaron asked, his voice tinged with frustration. No, Joby replied, a hint of fear in his tone. Master, although your parents have been away for a long time, they are genuinely concerned about you. Jins added, We've watched you grow up, and you are definitely the happiest child in the world. Stop it, Uncle Jins. Whether you watched me grow up or not, you know better than anyone else. I'm already 11 years old, not a 3-year-old, so don't try to fool me, Aaron said, feeling a bit exasperated. From his birth until now, he had always been under constant watch whenever he wasn't at home, a so-called protection. Jins's family had served the Gaius family for generations. He was the most trusted person by Aaron and his parents, the only visible protector allowed to follow Aaron. As for the secret protectors, well, that was another story. Although Aaron had never caught them, he was certain there were at least 2, and they were undoubtedly masters. Hearing Aaron's words, Jin's face showed a hint of bitterness. Master, it seems we haven't been able to fool you since you were old enough to remember, but those so-called surveillances are non-existent. They are just your imagination. In other wizarding families, heirs would be thrilled to have such protection. But Aaron always saw this love as surveillance, an invasion of his personal privacy. He despised it and had protested to his parents more than once. The Gaiuses would always admit their mistakes with guilt and sincerity, but the next day it was as if nothing had happened. Over time, not only did Aaron become numb to it, but so did the housekeeper. Regardless, the protection of the young master could never stop. As a housekeeper and bodyguard, Jins had to grit his teeth and deny everything. In short, Aaron had no evidence to prove him wrong. When Aaron could finally expose the hidden protectors, it would prove he was ready to take charge of his own life. Not only would the Gaius couple not be angry, but they would also celebrate, perhaps even throwing a banquet for this memorable day. "Humph," Aaron snorted coldly, unable to understand their thick-skinned behavior. "Did they say when they would come back?" "No, but it should be soon," Jins replied, though he sounded uncertain. "I shouldn't have asked you. That's what you said half a month ago." "Maybe they have something important to do," Jins said. "You know they are always busy, sir." Aaron gave him a blank stare, not wanting to continue the conversation. His parents sent letters home every once in a while, each time from different places, all tourist attractions. This was not the behavior of busy people. It seemed more like they were traveling the world. Parents who leave their son at home while they go out to have fun were quite something. Jins guessed what Aaron was complaining about and said, "Master, it's almost time for dinner. Do you need anything else prepared?" "No need. Just send my dinner to my room," Aaron said, walking up the stairs without looking back. Jins sighed helplessly and turned his attention to the house elf. Joby straightened up instantly and said, "I'm going to prepare dinner for the young master." "No need. The young master's dinner is already prepared. You can send it to him later." "Yes, Butler Jins," Joby said solemnly, then walked towards the kitchen. In his room, Aaron lay directly on the bed and silently opened the personal panel that only he could see. Magic energy, 700, intermediate magician. Your magical journey has just started. Talent, rare in 100 years. It can be improved, and the magic power increases by 2 points every day, but the speed of increase will fluctuate to a certain extent with the improvement. Level and age, none. Magic points, 1001. Aaron stared at the sparse, almost pitiful panel and sighed silently. He had received this system when he was 9 years old and had been quite excited at first. After all, having a system in a magical world promised a smoother journey. However, once he understood the system's limitations, he felt as if 1,000 wild horses were galloping through his mind in frustration. There was no novice gift package, just an ordinary panel and a low-key, luxurious, and somewhat cryptic system store. Magic points were valuable. They could not only increase his magical power, but also purchase rare items from the system mall. The downside was that they accumulated very slowly. He could check in once a day, but it only worked in places related to magic. Checking in at home earned him just 1 magic point, which amounted to 3 digits in a year. In Diagon Alley, he could earn 2 points. Although the difference between 1 and 2 points seemed minor, the allure of doubling his points was irresistible. This temptation led him to open a drink shop in Diagon Alley, where he made money joyfully every day. To be honest, his family didn't need the extra income. The Gaius family held a status in the magical world that was on par with, if not slightly better than, the 28 pure-blood families. In the Muggle world, the Gaius family was also among the top ranks on the rich list. But there was no way around it. The family was strictly controlled, and while there were many places where he could check in, most were relatively dangerous. Everywhere he went, he was followed by people every day. Even getting the shop in Diagon Alley required him to plead with his parents multiple times. Although he had been checking in for 2 years and had only just broken through to 4 digits in magic points today, Aaron believed it was all worth it. Today was the day he would finally spend those points. Chapter 2. You played me for 2 years. Aaron opened the system mall with excitement. The mall's interface was relatively simple, consisting of 3 rows, each containing 5 categories of commodities. These categories were divided into magic, materials, and items. The level of the products varied, with some being high level and others low level. Each magic point could refresh 1 grid, 1 row, or all of them, depending on the user's luck. When Aaron first opened the mall, he saw a magic spell among the 5 items that could bring the dead back to life. At that moment, he felt incredibly lucky, as if the goddess of luck had taken pity on him, and the gods were favoring him. He even imagined smoke rising from the ancestral grave of the Gaius family. However, after reading the detailed introduction, he realized he had been too optimistic. There were 3 conditions for casting the resurrection spell. The first was that the caster's mana had to reach the level of a great magister, which meant having over 10,000 mana points. The second condition was that each time the spell was cast, the caster's mana would drop by 50%, requiring recultivation. The third condition was that the time of death of the resurrected object could not exceed 20 years, and a certain amount of the deceased's body tissue was required. While the third condition was acceptable, the first 2 were extremely stringent. According to the system's division of magician levels, they were as follows: apprentice magicians, 1 to 100 magic power; junior magicians, 100 to 500 magic power; intermediate magicians, 500 to 1,000 magic power; advanced magicians, 1,000 to 3,000 magic power; magisters, 3,000 to 5,000 magic power; great magisters, 5,000 to 1,000 magic power; grand magisters, 1,000 to 3,000 magic power; holy magisters, 3,000 to 50,000 magic power; the legendary god of magic, a great magister. This meant that peak magisters existed in this magical world, but they were undoubtedly rare. Even if one reached the level of a great magister, the cost of casting the spell was so high that it was unlikely anyone would be willing to bear it. With Aaron's current 3-digit mana, it would take him at least 10 to 8 years to learn this magic. Moreover, he had no one he wanted to resurrect at the moment, making the spell useless to him. The most important factor was the exorbitant price of the spell, which was 100,000 magic points. For Aaron, it would take an eternity to accumulate that many points, which was unacceptable. Therefore, the first time he saw this magic, Aaron immediately used a magic point obtained by signing in that day to refresh it. This was his first consumption target. Occlumency, price 1,000 magic points. Learn it, and the host can perfectly resist any external mental penetration. No one can explore the host's memory. System, I want to buy this, Aaron said in his mind. 1,000 magic points will be deducted. Congratulations to the host for learning occlumency. You have 1 magic point remaining. The next moment, Aaron felt all the knowledge about occlumency flooding into his mind, deeply ingrained as if etched with a chisel. At that moment, great pride surged in Aaron's chest. He dared to say that even Dumbledore would not be able to spy on his memory unless he allowed it. Just as he was about to shut down the system, a familiar voice sounded in his mind again. Congratulations to the host for making a purchase in the system mall for the first time. If the consumption of magic points reaches 1 point, the host will be rewarded with a bottle of special potion Moondrop, which can remove any negative spells. If the consumption of magic points reaches 10 points, the host will be rewarded with a bottle of special potion Resurrection Potion, which can revive any creature that dies within an hour. If the consumption of magic points reaches 100 points, the host will be rewarded with wandless spellcasting skills, allowing the host to deal with emergencies without a wand. Consuming 1,000 magic points will reward the host with a magical egg, which can hatch a magical creature that is 100% loyal to the host and will become the host's most trustworthy companion in the future. Aaron blinked blankly and patted his cheek. He seriously doubted whether he was dreaming. It's Lineage. It is a pure-blooded dragon, and its magical abilities will be revealed as it grows. The host will need to nurture it carefully to discover its full potential. Aaron's eyes widened in surprise. A pure-blooded dragon? That's incredible. He gently placed the egg back on the table, his mind racing with possibilities. All right, I'll make sure it gets enough sunlight every day. He glanced at the clock on the wall. It was already late evening, so he decided to start the hatching process the next morning. For now, he needed to focus on his dinner, even though his excitement made it hard to concentrate on food. As he ate, his thoughts drifted back to the system and its cryptic ways. You know, system, you could be a bit more forthcoming with information. It would make things a lot easier. The system's voice responded with a hint of amusement. The host must learn to ask the right questions. Only then will the answers be revealed. Aaron sighed, realizing that arguing with the system was futile. He finished his meal quickly and prepared for bed, his mind still buzzing with thoughts of the dragon egg. Tomorrow would be the start of a new adventure, and he couldn't wait to see what it would bring. The next morning, Aaron woke up early, eager to begin the hatching process. He carefully placed the egg in a spot where it would receive plenty of sunlight and watched it intently. As the first rays of the sun touched the eggshell, he felt a sense of anticipation and excitement. Over the next few days, Aaron made sure the egg received the required sunlight, and he spent his free time reading up on dragons and their care. He wanted to be fully prepared for when the dragon finally hatched. On the 7th day, as the sun began to set, Aaron noticed a small crack forming on the eggshell. His heart raced with excitement as he watched the crack slowly widen. Moments later, a tiny dragon emerged, its scales glistening in the fading light. The dragon looked up at Aaron with curious eyes, and he felt an instant connection with the creature. "Welcome to the world, little one," he whispered, reaching out to gently stroke its head. The dragon let out a soft, contented purr, and Aaron knew that this was the beginning of a lifelong bond. He couldn't wait to see what adventures awaited them both in the magical world. In the current magical world, before the shell is broken, it belongs to the magician apprentice level. After the shell is broken, it will be upgraded by 1 level, evolving as the magic power level increases. The combat power at each stage will improve to varying degrees, and the size of the body can be freely controlled. After hearing this introduction, Aaron became more intrigued by the dragon egg in his hand. This might be a unique dragon in this world. Just by looking at the texture on the surface of the eggshell, he could tell that its appearance would be impressive. The ability to become bigger or smaller meant that it could be kept by his side. As for whether the Ministry of Magic would investigate its various mysteries, Aaron was not worried at all. If the thousands of years of the Gaius family's heritage couldn't be displayed, he could always find a reason to prevaricate and then show how obedient the pet was. He believed the magical world would give the Gaius family this respect. "Not bad. Really good. Master Ben is very satisfied with this egg." Aaron nodded in satisfaction, hugging the dragon egg fondly. "Should I give it a name in advance?" Aaron was a little confused. He didn't know whether the unborn dragon was male or female, what it would look like, what color it would be, or whether it would be cute or mighty. Choosing a name rashly always felt a bit sloppy. Thinking of this, Aaron shook his head vigorously. "Isn't it just 7 days? Grandpa can afford to wait." At this moment, a ray of moonlight shone into Aaron's bedroom from the window. He looked at the white dragon egg in his hand. "System, can the moon reduce the hatching time by 8 hours a day? Please don't ask the host such idiotic questions. The system feels that its IQ has been lowered." "Shh, I'm not smart enough to go there," Aaron complained, then gently placed the dragon egg under the moonlight. "There is no sun for now, so you can just make up for it and absorb some moon essence to replenish your blood." After speaking, Aaron began to enjoy his dinner. He didn't notice that the white dragon egg shook slightly under the bright moonlight. Chapter 3. The next day, the alarm clock rang at 6 o'clock in the morning. Aaron, still half asleep, skillfully picked it up and threw it against the wall. With a loud crash, the world became quiet again. Determined to continue sleeping, he closed his eyes, but then he suddenly remembered the pet egg he had received the previous day. He sat up abruptly in bed, his eyes wide open, and the confusion in his eyes vanished instantly. "Where's the dragon egg? Where's my pet egg?" Aaron murmured in astonishment. He distinctly remembered placing it on his desk last night, but now it was gone. His first thought was that the dragon egg had been stolen, but he quickly dismissed that idea. The defensive magic of Gaius Castle was formidable, not easily breached even if the Dark Lord himself were resurrected. Besides, he had only received the egg last night, and no one else knew of its existence. Even if there had been a thief, why would they target the bedroom of an 11-year-old child? Wouldn't it make more sense to steal from the owner's room or the treasure house directly? Concluding that he must have been dreaming, Aaron laughed at himself and leaned back. But as he lay down, he felt something round in his hand. "Oh, I'm going!" Aaron exclaimed, looking at the dragon egg on his bed and then at his desk. Carefully recalling the events of the previous night, he scrutinized the egg. As if sensing his questioning gaze, the dragon egg seemed to become more docile, and the pattern on its shell suddenly brightened. "Ouch! How naughty! You can hear me, can't you?" Aaron said. After a few seconds, the dragon egg rocked from side to side, then back and forth again. "Damn it! My dragon egg is promising!" Aaron was excited. He had thought he would have to wait 7 days for a pet, but it seemed the time could be brought forward. While others had cats and dogs, and in the wizarding world, owls and toads were more common, he thought it wouldn't be a problem to have a dragon egg. However, until it hatched, he decided it should remain hidden at home to avoid drawing too much attention. "Come on, little guy. Let's take you out to bask in the sun. The first ray of sunshine in the morning is definitely worth having." The dragon egg seemed very happy and jumped directly into Aaron's hand. As the door opened, Aaron walked downstairs excitedly, holding the dragon egg. The scene was both cute and funny. When Jin saw Aaron, he couldn't believe his eyes. The young master never got up before 7 o'clock. But when he noticed the egg of an unknown creature in Aaron's hand, Jin's frowned slightly. "Master, may I borrow the egg in your hand? I consider myself quite knowledgeable, but I can't identify what kind of egg this is. Can you satisfy my curiosity?" Jins asked. "No," Aaron replied firmly, holding the dragon egg even tighter. "Jins, I know you're concerned about my safety, but this egg will never harm me. It will be my future pet and my most cherished partner." "Master, even if you say so, Jins began, but Aaron's expression turned serious. "Uncle Jins, you watched me grow up. I don't want to pressure you with my status, understand?" Aaron said. "Understood," Jins replied with a wry smile. He was just a housekeeper and not qualified to make decisions for the young master. "But shouldn't I inform the old lady about this?" "Ahem, I'm already 11 years old. I don't need to report everything to them." Aaron waved his hand dismissively. If his parents found out that their son was raising an egg of an unknown creature, they might abandon their travels and rush back home. After finishing speaking, Aaron was still a little worried. "Butler Jins, this is an order." "Yes, this subordinate understands," Jins said, ceasing his inquiries about the egg. After all, with Gaius and his wife absent, Aaron was the highest authority in the castle and could even access the treasure house. The butler, with a raised eyebrow. "What exactly do you mean by egg teaching?" Jins cleared his throat, trying to regain his composure. "I meant to say, young master, that perhaps we should find someone knowledgeable in the care and nurturing of such rare creatures. It might be beneficial for both you and the egg." Aaron considered this for a moment, then nodded. "You might be right, but for now, I'll handle it myself. I want to ensure that the little guy bonds with me first." Jins bowed slightly. "As you wish, young master. I will still prepare breakfast for you." Aaron watched as Jins hurried off to the kitchen. He then turned his attention back to the dragon egg, which had settled down, but still seemed to radiate a sense of impatience. "All right, little one, let's get you back to my room." He carefully carried the egg up the grand staircase, through the ornate hallways adorned with family portraits and tapestries, until he reached his room. The room was spacious, with a large canopy bed, a desk cluttered with books and magical artifacts, and a window that offered a breathtaking view of the castle grounds. Aaron placed the dragon egg gently on a cushioned chair near the window. "There you go. Enjoy the sunlight while I'm gone." The egg wobbled slightly, as if acknowledging his words. Aaron smiled and patted it gently. "I'll be back soon. Be good." With that, he left the room and headed downstairs, where Jins had already laid out a sumptuous breakfast. Aaron ate quickly, his mind racing with thoughts of the dragon egg and the potential it held. After breakfast, he donned his cloak and prepared to leave for Diagon Alley. As he reached the front door, Jins approached him once more. "Young master, please be careful, and if you need anything, don't hesitate to send word." Aaron nodded. "I will, Jins. Thank you." With a final glance back at the castle, Aaron stepped outside and made his way to the bustling streets of Diagon Alley. The familiar sights and sounds greeted him as he navigated through the crowd, his mind still preoccupied with the dragon egg. He spent the day attending to his business at Aaron's beverage shop, but his thoughts frequently drifted back to the egg. He couldn't help but wonder what kind of creature would emerge from it, and what adventures awaited them both. As the sun began to set, Aaron hurried back to the castle, eager to check on the egg. He found it exactly where he had left it, bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. The egg seemed to glow with an inner warmth, and Aaron felt a surge of excitement. "Don't worry, little one," he whispered. "We'll face whatever comes together." The egg wobbled slightly in response, and Aaron couldn't help but laugh. He knew that this was just the beginning of a remarkable journey, one that would change both their lives forever. The dragon egg in his arms wiggled as he spoke with some hesitation. "I'll think about it." As soon as the words left his mouth, the dragon egg began to struggle more vigorously. He quickly added, "Ahem, Jins, I take back what I just said. I don't need to teach the egg. Thank you very much for your kindness, but you can see that the little guy is about to hatch. Teaching the egg for a few more days would be meaningless." Jins simply stared at him, speechless. Chapter 4. Enrollment Notice. Aaron placed the dragon egg on the bed in his bedroom to bask in the sun. Although the light might shift as the sun moved, he was confident that the little creature inside was spirited enough to roll itself into the sunlight. "Young master, it's time for us to set off. You are already an hour later than usual," Jins reminded him. "Understood. I'm the boss, not a part-time clerk. I decide when to go," Aaron replied impatiently. "Then why don't we skip today? You seem to be enjoying yourself, young master." "Compared to your happiness, Garen is not worth mentioning at all," Jins suggested, genuinely believing his own words. "That's not acceptable. As the boss, inspection work is necessary. You don't want me to be as irresponsible as my father when I take over the family business in the future, do you?" Aaron retorted. Jins touched his nose resentfully. The owner's words were not something a mere housekeeper could argue with. After a few minutes, the two went to the fireplace to use flue powder. After the green flames flashed, they arrived at Aaron's beverage shop in Diagon Alley, one after the other. "System, sign in," Aaron commanded. "Sign in at Diagon Alley and get 2 magic points," the familiar voice responded. Hearing this, Aaron nodded in satisfaction and immediately devoted himself to the day's work. This included learning some simple spells, reading the news from the newspaper, admiring the work of his employees, and contemplating how to deduct their wages for the month. After all, he was the boss. In this era, when the information network was not very developed, there were only these few amusements. A few hours later, Aaron lazily stood up from the recliner. "Jins, why don't I go back and check on the little guy first? Please take care of the business in the store." The next moment, Jins apparated directly in front of Aaron and said confidently, "I will go wherever the young master goes. This is the order that the master gave me before leaving." "Great," Aaron muttered, the corner of his mouth twitching. He couldn't say much. With his current strength as an intermediate magician, there was really nothing he could do about Gaius. This butler was at least at the level of a magister, and might even be a great magister. But it didn't matter. Outside, he had to give Jins some face because he was the bodyguard sent by Gaius. But as long as they were in the castle, Aaron was in charge, and the housekeeper had no right to interfere. "I want to experience apparition eye," Aaron asked. "This?" Jins hesitated. "Young master, no boss, you are really putting me in a difficult position. It's completely fine for me to apparate by myself, and of course, it's also fine to bring another person, but I cannot guarantee your safety 100%. Just in case, I mean just in case. If any harm comes to you, I can't explain it to the master. Besides, you won't like the feeling of apparition. Many wizards would rather use other forms of transportation than this magic, even though it is very convenient." "Shh, it's really boring," Aaron said without interest. "If that's the case, then let's go back at 5:30 p.m. Otherwise, going back and forth all day is a waste of flu powder. As long as you're happy, Jins replied indifferently. In the next few days, Aaron continued his routine, but with a growing sense of anticipation. Each day brought him closer to the moment the dragon egg would hatch. On the 7th day, for the first time, Aaron did not go to Diagon Alley to sign in. Instead, he stayed home, staring at the white dragon egg, afraid of missing the moment the little one was born. Master. Master, came a slight call from behind him. Aaron turned to see the house elf approaching with a letter. Today is really a good day. My parents finally remembered they have a son like me? Aaron mused. No, sir. This letter is not from Mr. and Mrs., but it is addressed to you. When will you read it? The elf asked. Sent to me. Aaron was a little surprised. This is really interesting all. Gee, I don't even know who else would send me a letter, except for the two of them. Aaron's parents. This is not to say that Aaron is unpopular and knows no one except his parents. He has relatives too, but if they wanted to send a letter, it would be addressed directly to Vico Gaius or Lysana Gaius, not to an 11-year-old boy. He has friends, but most of his relationships are not deep enough to warrant sending letters. Bring it here, Aaron commanded. Okay, master. Joby replied, stepping forward and respectfully placing the letter in Aaron's hand. The envelope read, London Castle of Gaius, Mr. Aaron Gaius. It's quite concise, Aaron chuckled. He turned the envelope over and was momentarily stunned by the logo on it. In the center of the shield-shaped logo was a capital H with a lion, snake, badger, and eagle occupying the four corners of the shield. The most important detail, however, was the word Hogwarts at the top of the sign. Joby, hurry up and call Uncle Jins over here, Aaron said excitedly, opening the envelope with trembling hands. The letter read, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Principal, Albus Dumbledore, President of the International Federation of Wizards, First-Class Wizard of Sir Merlin, Chief Wizard of Wisengamot. Dear Mr. Gaius, we are pleased to inform you that you have been admitted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Enclosed is a list of required books and equipment. The semester is scheduled to start on September 1st, and we will be waiting for your owl to hear from you by July 31st. Sincerely, Albus Dumbledore. Ha! Aaron laughed, a silly smile spreading across his face. His laughter was a bit odd, but it didn't scare anyone. Instead, it evoked a sense of sadness and sympathy. Master, are you looking for me? Jins's figure suddenly appeared behind Aaron. Yes, that's right. Aaron adjusted his emotions, stood up in a daze, and patted the admission notice in his hand against Jin's chest. Take a good look. What is this? A letter from Hogwarts? Jins frowned slightly. What do you mean, Master? Are you going or not? Go, of course. My dad said that when I received the admission letter from the magic school, you can't follow me until I graduate. This is my dream. Jins blinked and said with an awkward smile, the headmaster of Hogwarts is the strongest white wizard today. The master believes that he can protect the safety of the students, so he won't let us follow. Of course, we can't be playing tricks under the great magister's watchful eyes. But the master is actually more optimistic about Durmstrang, where only pure-blood wizards are recruited, and the teachers are of good quality. The most important thing is that the Gaius family can negotiate with the school, ensuring you will have someone to take care of you. What the hell? Someone to take care of me? Aaron's eyes widened, and he said sullenly, No, I won't go to Durmstrang, even if you beat me to death. Hogwarts, that's right, I'm going to Hogwarts. I want to pursue freedom, and no one can stop me. The corners of Jins's eyes twitched slightly, and he kept his complaints to himself. Of course, the final decision is always in your hands, young master. Hogwarts it is. However, this matter is of great importance, so I still need to talk to the old lady. Aaron was silent for a moment, then said, Okay, but I will not change my mind. Hurry up. Today is July 24th. If they are having fun on the other side of the earth and don't have time to come back, then they probably won't be able to see their precious son for half a year. Of course, I'm going to write a letter right away, Jins smiled. At this moment, he glanced at the dragon eggs on the table, feeling the faint magic fluctuations, vitality, and inexplicable sacredness emanating from inside. Master, you should let the master know about the dragon egg. Yes, Aaron nodded. After all, if I want to bring the little guy upright in the future, I really can't do it without my parents' help. Your parents. Among other things, you must at least get a reasonable approval document. Job. Yes. The house elf immediately stood up straight. What do you want, master? Where's the owl that delivers the letters? I'm going to have it send a reply. Joby will bring it here, said the house elf, and he quickly ran outside. When he returned, he was accompanied by a gray owl about half his size. Aaron tore off a piece of paper from the table, picked up a pen, and wrote down a sentence. It is a great honor to receive this admission letter, and I will report on time on September 1st. Sincerely, Aaron Gaius. Isn't this a little too simple? Jins remarked. This is the simplest letter I have ever seen, bar none. No need. Aaron waved his hand and sealed the piece of paper in an envelope. First of all, I'm only 11 years old, a child, and I don't have that complicated literary talent. Secondly, what Hogwarts wants is just a reply. They will not give special consideration to someone with good writing skills, nor will they treat people differently because of poor writing skills. If I write a long and eloquent essay, people may not have time to read it, but they will suspect that I asked someone to write it for me. Jins thought for a while and realized Aaron had a point. However, he still tapped his wand quietly and changed the letter to a relatively high-end envelope. Chapter 5. The Mischievous and Cute Young Dragon. As dusk fell, Aaron's eyes grew weary from staring at the dragon egg. Just then, a ray of moonlight broke through the clouds and shone on the egg through the window, causing a small crack to appear. A faint white brilliance diffused outward through the gap, illuminating Aaron's face. The holy and gentle light made Aaron feel extremely calm, suppressing his excitement as he watched the little creature break its shell. Deep down, his curiosity grew even stronger. The miraculous nature of this birth alone was enough to surpass most magical creatures. The cracks on the eggshell slowly expanded, and more brilliance bloomed. Several potted plants in the room seemed to be invigorated, adding a bit of vitality and blooming more vigorously. This is... Jin suddenly sensed a strange magic power emanating from Aaron's room. Although it was weak, it was of extremely high quality. Without hesitation, he quickly ran to Aaron's bedroom. He didn't care about etiquette at this moment. If something happened to the young master, he would be to blame. But when he opened the door, before he could see what was inside, his face was bathed in white light, instantly calming him. Not only that, but he also felt his energy recovering rapidly, and some old ailments in his body seemed to be alleviating. What's going on here? Jins thought to himself, fixing his gaze on Aaron and the radiant dragon egg. Click, click. A small white claw emerged from the broken eggshell. This claw was not sharp and didn't look like it had any attack power, but it tugged at Aaron's heartstrings, making his heart beat faster. A moment later, another identical claw appeared, and the two claws waved wildly, causing a more severe impact on the already broken eggshell. A soft moan of woo-woo came from the eggshell, and the next moment, the eggshell completely broke, revealing the little creature inside. There were no sharp teeth or claws. The entire body, including the hands and feet, was white and flawless. The two fluffy ears made people want to touch them. Additionally, the little creature had a white tail and a pair of small wings, white on the outside and blue on the inside. A few seconds later, the little creature opened its eyes and stared blankly at the young man in front of it with a pair of soulful black eyes. Its gaze was soft and full of wonder, as if it wanted to engrave Aaron's appearance in its heart. Aaron felt the same way, though a storm raged in his heart. He recognized this type of dragon, the holy dragon of the Holy Dragon Knights, and now it had become his pet. This was truly a stroke of incredible luck. The little creature smiled at Aaron, almost melting his heart. Aaron immediately reached out to touch its little head. The creature nuzzled his hand, then went to the broken eggshell and started eating. After consuming the last piece, it hiccuped in satisfaction, lay quietly on Aaron's hand, and closed its eyes. "Master," Jins said softly. "Hush!" Aaron made a silent gesture. He wasn't surprised that Jins had appeared. He knew Jins had broken in out of concern for his safety, so he didn't blame him. Aaron gently placed the little creature on the bed and walked softly to the door. "We'll talk tomorrow. Don't disturb the little one's rest, understand?" "Understood, understood." Jins nodded immediately, looking at the sleeping creature with a mix of shock and affection. He had originally thought the egg was a special or mutated dragon egg, rare but not extraordinary. But what had just happened subverted his understanding. The energy released when the shell broke had revitalized the life around it and even benefited him. He knew that this was no ordinary dragon. Dragon nodded enthusiastically, its eyes sparkling with curiosity and excitement. Aaron led the little dragon out of the bedroom, and they began their tour of the Gaius estate. The mansion was grand, with high ceilings, ornate chandeliers, and walls adorned with tapestries and paintings. The floors were polished to a shine, and the air was filled with the faint scent of lavender. "This is the main hall," Aaron explained, gesturing to the spacious room they had entered. "It's where we host guests and hold important meetings. Over there is the dining room, where we have our meals." The little dragon looked around, taking in every detail. It flapped its wings slightly, hovering a few inches off the ground as it followed Aaron. They moved on to the library, a vast room filled with shelves upon shelves of books. "This is the library," Aaron said. "You can find books on almost any subject here. If you ever want to learn something new, this is the place to come." The little dragon's eyes widened in awe at the sight of so many books. It landed on one of the tables and sniffed at a nearby tome, its curiosity piqued. Next, they visited the training grounds, an open area outside the mansion where the Gaius family practiced their combat skills. "This is where we train," Aaron explained. "You'll need to get stronger, and this is the perfect place to do it." The little dragon nodded, its determination evident. It flapped its wings again, eager to start training. Finally, they arrived at the garden, a beautiful space filled with colorful flowers, lush greenery, and a small pond. "This is the garden," Aaron said. "It's a great place to relax and enjoy nature." The little dragon seemed to relax as it took in the serene surroundings. It fluttered over to a flower and sniffed it, then looked back at Aaron with a contented expression. "All right, that's the tour," Aaron said with a smile. "Now, let's get you some breakfast." They made their way to the kitchen, where Jins was already preparing a meal. "Good morning, young master," Jins greeted. "And good morning to you too, little one." The little dragon chirped in response, clearly pleased. Jins placed a bowl of food in front of the little dragon, who eagerly began to eat. Aaron watched with a smile, feeling a sense of satisfaction. He knew that taking care of the little dragon would be a big responsibility, but he was ready for the challenge. As the little dragon finished its meal, Aaron patted its head gently. "All right, little guy, let's start our day. We've got a lot to do." The little dragon nodded, its eyes filled with determination. Together, they set off to face whatever challenges lay ahead, ready to grow stronger and protect the Gaius family. The little dragon was extremely excited, flying around Aaron a few times before landing in his arms. Perhaps in its view, Aaron was its original home. "That's not okay," Aaron said reluctantly, placing the dragon on the floor. "I could hold you when you were an egg, but now you're out of your shell and a cute young dragon. When you don't need to fly, you have to learn to walk and run by yourself." Aaron then took the little dragon on a detailed tour of Gaius Castle. This castle, with a history spanning thousands of years, had been continuously improved over time, perfectly integrating the characteristics of each era. They explored the bedrooms, kitchens, living rooms, swimming pools, potion rooms, storage rooms, and even the treasure house. The little dragon followed Aaron closely, its curious eyes taking in everything around it. After more than an hour, both Aaron and the dragon were a bit tired from their tour of the castle's landmark buildings. "Master," Jins suddenly called out, looking at the little dragon with hesitant eyes. "What's the matter, Uncle Jins? If you have something to say, please do. I need to take the little guy to dinner," Aaron replied. Hearing the word dinner, the little dragon immediately perked up, a sparkle of excitement in its innocent eyes. "That's what I wanted to talk about," Jins said with a wry smile. "Your breakfast is ready, but to be honest, I don't know what to prepare for this new breed of dragon, so—" The little dragon's eyes dimmed, and it looked a bit depressed, almost as if it had "baby is unhappy" written on its face. "So, prepare a bit of everything under your command," Aaron suggested. This sentence brought the little dragon back to life instantly, and it babbled to express its gratitude to Jins. Aaron silently gave Jins a thumbs up, appreciating his thoroughness. As a housekeeper, Jins was truly meticulous, considering even the smallest details. Chapter 6. This dragon is really not picky. In front of a long dining table, Aaron looked at the hundreds of plates laid out before him and felt a pang of sadness. It was clear that Jins had put a lot of effort into this breakfast. There were dishes from the sky, the sea, and the land, everything one could imagine. In addition, there were all kinds of fruits, vegetables, drinks, and even snacks. Jins had procured everything he could. But the problem was, as a young master, Aaron had never encountered such treatment at such a young age. The first meal of the little dragon's life was a full feast. Was there any reason for the owner to live worse than a pet? Was there any family law? Ahem, Uncle Jins, isn't this too extravagant? Aaron asked, a hint of irritation in his voice. Jins was momentarily stunned. He could hear the sourness in Aaron's tone and replied with a smile. I understand what you're saying, young master, but this pet of yours is truly extraordinary. There has never been a dragon of this breed in history. So, it's crucial to figure out its eating habits. You don't want to wait until you start school and have to struggle to figure out what it eats and what it doesn't. This breakfast is as much about celebrating its birth as it is about conducting a simple survey. The common food types are all here, and there are special investigators responsible for recording. They will provide a perfect analysis report before noon, making it much easier for you to raise it, young master. Aaron then turned his attention to the two people behind Jins and nodded silently. Go on, little one. This is related to your future meals. You only have one chance, so make the most of it, Aaron said, placing the dragon on the dining table and letting it explore freely. Jins raised an eyebrow. Master, since it has already been born, shouldn't it be given a name? We can't always call it the little guy. I've thought about this too, but I really don't have any good ideas for a name, Aaron admitted awkwardly. The little dragon's name in the movie was Abu, but obviously it couldn't be called that in this world, especially since he was a freshman at Hogwarts. The headmaster's name was Albus Dumbledore. If the dragon's name was Abu, some teachers might have a word with him on the first day of school. Hearing Aaron's dilemma, Jin straightened his back confidently and suggested, What do you think of Mike, master? Mike? Aaron murmured thoughtfully. The name sounded pretty good, and it was Jin's suggestion. The most important thing was that Aaron didn't have any ideas himself, so why not just use it? It was certainly better than the little guy. Is this the name? Before Aaron could finish speaking, the little dragon flew over, shook its head at him, and gave Jins a fierce look. It's open to discussion. Yes, the name is still open to discussion. Aaron quickly backtracked. Okay, Jin said with some regret. The name was quite good, but the little dragon was not satisfied. At this moment, the little dragon grabbed Aaron's hand and placed it on its head, its long eyes smiling into crescent shapes. Aaron understood instantly and said with a wry smile, You want me to name you? The little dragon nodded and glanced at Jins arrogantly. Jins, it turned out that it wasn't that the name was bad, but that the person who named it was wrong. But this was also a good thing. At least the young dragon had a much closer relationship with the young master than he had thought. A few seconds later, Aaron gritted his teeth. Why don't we call you Abe? Master, isn't that name a bit low? Jins commented. But the little dragon didn't think so. On the contrary, it was very excited. It flew around Aaron several times before returning to the dining table, clearly very satisfied with its name. Uncle Jins, what did you just say? Aaron asked playfully. Nothing. I didn't say anything. You must have misheard, young master. The newly named Abe was very happy. It landed on the dining table again, raising its little chin, proudly. Walk me through it every time, Aaron replied with a chuckle. He stepped into the fireplace, holding Abe securely. With a flick of his wand, he muttered, Gaius Castle, and they were engulfed in green flames, transported back to their home. Upon arrival, Aaron set Abe down gently. The little dragon immediately scampered off, eager to explore and perhaps find a snack before dinner. Aaron watched him fondly before turning to Jins, who had followed them through the fireplace. Jins, make sure the kitchen is aware of Abe's preferences. We don't want any mishaps, Aaron instructed. Of course, Master Aaron, Jins replied, bowing slightly before heading off to relay the message. Aaron made his way to his study, where he could finally relax and review the day's events. He couldn't help but smile at the thought of Abe's antics at Diagon Alley. The little dragon had quickly become a beloved member of the household, and Aaron was determined to ensure his well-being. As he settled into his chair, Aaron's thoughts drifted back to the system mall. The items and spells listed there were tantalizing, but he knew he had to be patient. Accumulating enough magic points would take time, and he needed to prioritize what was truly necessary. One step at a time, he reminded himself. For now, let's focus on keeping Abe safe and happy. Just then, a soft knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. It was Jins, carrying a tray with a steaming cup of tea. "Master Aaron, your tea," Jins said, placing the tray on the desk. "Thank you, Jins," Aaron replied, taking a sip. The warm, soothing liquid helped him relax further. "Is there anything else you need, Master?" Jins inquired. "No, that will be all for now. Thank you," Aaron said, dismissing him with a nod. As Jins left the room, Aaron leaned back in his chair, contemplating the future. He knew there would be challenges ahead, but with Abe by his side, he felt ready to face them. The little dragon had already brought so much joy and excitement to his life, and Aaron was eager to see what adventures awaited them next. With a contented sigh, Aaron closed his eyes, allowing himself a moment of peace before the evening's activities began. The journey ahead was uncertain, but he was confident that, together, they could overcome any obstacle. Aaron rolled his eyes and then used flue powder. As a burst of green flames erupted, Jin subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. This time, he did not follow Aaron back to the castle, but instead used apparition to leave the place. Chapter 7. Adorable Pets Want to See Their Parents. Aaron and Abe emerged from the fireplace, their clothes freshly cleaned by Job's magic. However, this time, Jins was not with them, which left them both puzzled. "Job, what's going on at home today? Why haven't we seen the housekeeper?" Aaron asked. In his memory, Jins was always like a persistent shadow, never leaving his side. It was unusual for him not to follow Aaron. Was there something more important than protecting him? Joby doesn't know, but Master Jins seemed very happy. "By the way, Master Jins mentioned he was going to the airport," Job replied. "Airport?" Aaron murmured, his expression suddenly changing. He hugged Abe excitedly. "The Gaius couple are coming back. Soon, we can go out and play openly. But we must keep your identity a secret. We are too weak now, and you are so rare. If a desperate dark wizard tries to capture you again, we won't be able to protect ourselves." Abe jumped up happily at the news, his wings nearly tearing his clothes. But upon hearing the cautionary words, he reluctantly retracted his wings. Though he still smiled, his initial joy was dampened. Dinner that evening was exceptionally sumptuous, and Abe's mouth watered at the sight. There were chicken legs, which he loved, and a fruit platter. Since his birth, he had been eating with Aaron. Although the food was good, it never fully satisfied him. Jins had arranged a special diet for him, strictly enforced, claiming it was for the good of the dragon. Abe felt it was simply bullying. After experiencing a Manchu banquet at Longsheng's first meal, who would care for mere dishes? Abe watched the food longingly, scratching his heart with his claws. He cautiously reached out, but Aaron unceremoniously pulled him back. "There aren't enough people yet. Be patient." "Woo," Abe whimpered, looking aggrieved. But his usual cuteness didn't work this time. Aaron looked at him earnestly. "This is for your own good. My parents are very disciplined. It's fine to be casual on regular days, but today we're welcoming them home. Necessary courtesy is required. You don't want to give them a bad first impression, do you?" Abe was stunned for a moment, then silently sat on the pet seat next to Aaron, returning to his original state. He stared at the delicious food, drooling. Aaron, noticing this, quietly placed a small cup under Abe's chin. Dragon saliva might be a rare material in this magical world, where magical creatures were full of treasures. Blood, scales, bones, venom, and even hair were valuable and versatile. A few minutes later, 3 figures suddenly appeared at the dining table. This was apparition, a teleportation magic Aaron had yet to learn. One of them was, of course, Jins, standing respectfully behind the other 2. The other 2 were Aaron's parents, Vico Gaius and Lasana Gaius. "I told you our baby son would be waiting here," Lisanna said happily, quickly walking over to give Aaron a loving hug. Vico followed, though less exuberantly. Is it because if I don't go to school, you won't come back? Aaron asked, a hint of complaint in his voice. Sometimes I wonder if I was adopted. How can you say that? We've always put you first. No matter how busy we are, our love for you has never diminished, Vico said confidently. He knew his son had some grievances, but he wasn't worried. It was just a family joke. Aaron had shown maturity beyond his peers since he was a child. With Jin's taking care of him, the two of them were determined to carry out the plan they had set when they were young, to travel around the world. Of course, this wasn't just a simple tour. They occasionally dealt with matters related to the wizarding world during their travels, though Aaron was unaware of this. Really? Aaron asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. Of course it's true, Lisanna replied immediately. We brought you some gifts from our trip. She then produced an hourglass and placed it in front of Aaron. The hourglass had 2 white bases and 3 white pillars, filled with grains of sand, had looked quite ordinary. Aaron took it, examined it carefully for a few seconds, but found nothing unusual about it. He then turned his gaze to Vico, hoping for an explanation. Can you not say it? Vico hesitated. Aaron smiled. Dad, I like this gift very much. After all, I don't have an hourglass in my room, but since this is a gift from you both, and it contains deep family affection, I must know which roadside stall you bought it from. See? Vico said awkwardly. Isn't this nonsense? I'm not blind. Aaron rolled his eyes. This hourglass could be sold in any market, and the price was definitely not more than 1 galleon. Although it's an ordinary hourglass, the sand is different. This is from our trip to Egypt. It's a souvenir we specially prepared while doing business there. It's sand from under the pyramids. Aaron was a bit taken aback by the solemn explanation, but in any case, it was no different from the wholesale goods outside. Forget it. Let's eat. The little guy is also a bit hungry. Little guy? The Gaiuses froze for a moment and began to look around, but they didn't see their son's pet. Where is it? Jin spoke highly of Ab in his previous letter. Where did you hide it? Lisanna asked, a little impatient to see her son's pet dragon. Ma'am, there. Jins pointed to a white pet beside Aaron, looking a bit embarrassed. Lisanna looked in the direction of her finger, feeling a mix of embarrassment and amazement. It wasn't that she hadn't seen it, but this cute and somewhat over-the-top pet seemed to be asleep and motionless. Crystal saliva hung from the corner of its mouth, dripping down 1 drop after another, which made her mistake it for her son's new timer. Can you wake it up? Vico asked softly, still very interested in this new breed of dragon. Of course, no problem. Aaron flicked Abe's head lightly, and it opened its eyes in a daze. A pair of big black eyes looked at the 2 strangers who had suddenly appeared at the dining table, feeling a bit confused. These should be the owner's parents. The Gaius couple looked at the adorable baby dragon, and their hearts almost melted. This was definitely the cutest creature they had ever seen. Even a unicorn cub couldn't compare. Son, can I touch it? Lisanna asked. Yes, but Abe likes to eat chicken drumsticks. Aaron said meaningfully, glancing slightly at the table. Lisanna understood instantly and gave Aaron a satisfied look. This was her cue to feed it. She loved cute pets so much. Without hesitation, she pushed a whole plate of chicken legs in front of Abe. Eat up, I'll give you all of them. And fruit, Aaron added. Take it, Lisanna said, pushing another plate in front of Abe. Abe's face lit up with joy, but he still turned his head to look at Aaron, as if seeking his approval. The drool at the corner of his mouth proved he couldn't wait any longer. Go ahead, but you don't need me to teach you what to do before that, right? Aaron said. Abe nodded, spread his wings, and flew up, landing in Lisanna's arms a few seconds later, allowing her to experience the joy of holding a dragon for the first time. Chapter 8. After eating and drinking, Vico gently stroked Abe's bulging belly and exclaimed, What a magical creature! That's right, don't forget who its owner is, Aaron said proudly, then took Abe back from Vico's hands. He noticed his mother's longing gaze during the process, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly, but he ignored it. After all, even he couldn't hold Ab for long. Abe had perfectly captured the hearts of the Gaius couple with his top-notch cuteness and adorable appearance. Son, you may not understand what I mean. If you make its existence known to the public as the person who discovered and tamed it, you will gain a reputation unimaginable to ordinary people. In the magical world, although magical creatures are precious, they are not exceedingly rare. With enough luck or high status, one can encounter them. But your pet is a unique breed, and its appearance will definitely cause a sensation in the magical world. Aaron looked down at the pet in his arms, then met Vico's eyes calmly and said, "I don't want to do that. I believe, Father, you understand what I mean." Vico shrugged, turned to Lysana and smiled. "I knew it would be like this." "Very good," Lysana smiled. "This is our son." She then looked at Jins. "Give him the documents. That way our trip is not in vain." "Yes," Jins replied, taking out a document from a briefcase and handing it to Aaron. "Master, this is what the Master and Madam specially arranged. They found some retired seniors of the Magic Council and some respected magicians on the way back. This agreement, signed by them, proves that Abe was hatched from a dragon egg passed down by the Gaius family for thousands of years and belongs to your private property. As long as you can guarantee that this dragon will obey your orders 100% and will not harm others easily, you can raise it openly." Aaron gasped. "Is it so efficient? I didn't even say anything, and my parents already took care of it." "What about the Ministry of Magic?" he asked. "Don't worry about that," Vico reassured him. "Every name on this agreement is someone the Ministry of Magic must respect. With their combined influence, even the Ministry of Magic will have to back down." Hearing this, Aaron was moved. Although he didn't know how his parents managed to hire these magicians, he was sure they must have paid a lot of benefits. Vico saw what his son was thinking and couldn't help but feel relieved. Even though Aaron was only 11 years old, he was already starting to think about the gains and losses. But in reality, it wasn't as serious as he thought. The ancient magician families in the magical world watch out for and help each other. The Gaius family knows the importance of being kind to others and hardly has any enmity with other families. They know how to be low-key, but have a profound background and rich network resources. The couple visited each family, gave some gifts, and drank a cup of tea. After all, it was just a harmless dragon, and they were merely showing their attitude, so there would be no loss. On the contrary, if they did this favor, the Gaius family would naturally remember it and help them in the future. This was all understood tacitly. "Ahem, don't think so much. You are the heir of the Gaius family. Before you grow up, your mother and I are here to protect you from the wind and rain as much as possible. What happened with Ab is our way of compensating for leaving you at home alone for a long time." "Humph," Aaron pooted. "Then I'll forgive you." Lysana glanced at Vico unexpectedly, saw him making an okay gesture under the table, and rolled her eyes unconsciously. She was from the Ollivander family and was also a pure-blood wizard. Looking at the state of the father and son, she could guess what they were thinking. Her precious son was probably fooled, and he was the kind who made up his own mind. It is also not a good thing to mature too early, as it may lead to wrong judgments due to ignorance of the situation. But don't tell the truth. After all, she is also a vested interest. The more her son feels bad about this, the harder he will work in the days to come, and the life of the couple will be much easier. It's a win-win situation. By the way, Aaron, Vico suddenly remembered something, and his expression gradually became serious. "You said you were going to Hogwarts to go to school? I think you should think it through before making a decision." "There is nothing to consider," Aaron said directly. "Life is precious, but love is more valuable. If it is for the sake of freedom, both can be sacrificed. You put Jins next to me, but I don't know anyone else but him. In your eyes, protection is an invasion of my personal privacy. When I grow up, except at home, I feel that someone follows me everywhere, which is very awkward. So don't even think about me going to Durmstrang. At least at Hogwarts, I can experience the long-lost freedom. If you haven't experienced it, you won't understand this feeling." Hearing his son's words, Vico was silent. After a while, he smiled self-deprecatingly. "Who said I haven't experienced it?" "Huh?" Aaron opened his mouth slightly, a strange guess forming in his mind. "No way. Could it be that you too, Dad?" "That's right." Vico shrugged helplessly. "Your grandfather also arranged for me. It's not just me. Your grandpa was also arranged by your great-grandpa, and your great-grandpa was also arranged by your great-great-grandpa. Anyway, it's a tradition in our Gaius family that's been going on for thousands of years. So don't say I don't understand you. No one understands you better than me. In fact, Dad would also like to thank you. If you were not mature enough, your mother and I would not have made up our minds to travel around the world. Originally, this plan was to wait until you became an adult, or even until you got married and had children, but your performance made it possible many years earlier. The corner of Aaron's mouth twitched violently, and he suddenly thought of something. Wait, according to this, my grandpa didn't disappear when I was 5 years old, but you're right, Vico confirmed. Because your father and I are relatively incompetent, he has been worried. In addition, you were born, and for the fun of bringing up his grandson, he delayed his departure a little. Now, he's feeding penguins in Antarctica. You won't see him for a while, but he will definitely come back when you take over the family or get married. Heh, Lingay sneered, resisting the urge to slap the table. What kind of ridiculous tradition is this? I want to protest. Vico glanced at his wife, smiled wryly, and said, Protesting is futile. I have protested before, but your grandpa sternly dismissed it. After having you, I realized the importance of this family rule. Before growing up, necessary protection is indeed indispensable. Aaron now understood why his parents traveled around the world when he was 8 years old, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of resignation. But that's right. After finally getting rid of the guardian force sent by the previous generation and having to take care of the children, it is not easy to persist for 8 years. At this moment, Aaron suddenly thought that he might have to go through this process again in the future, and his heart was filled with clouds, lightning, and thunder, followed by a downpour of blood. His arms unconsciously tightened their grip. It wasn't until Abe was strangled and hammered his arm with his small claws that Aaron managed to recover. Then, according to our family's tradition, when will we be truly free? Aaron asked. Vico smiled and looked at his son with more doting eyes. This is relatively simple. There are several ways, but the simplest one is to defeat those who guard you and prove with your strength that you don't need their protection. Your talent is stronger than mine, and you can definitely complete it before graduation. Just when As Aaron was about to ask his second question, he heard Vico's latter sentence and looked at him with more sympathy. Dad, you are so pitiful. Didn't you beat them before graduation? Vico froze for a moment, feeling a bit embarrassed, but Lisanna couldn't help but laugh. What about the second one? Aaron asked. The second is to have children. As long as you can raise offspring who are better than yourself, then congratulations, you will be free. Although it is difficult for some strong people, it is crucial for blood inheritance and cannot be taken lightly. Aaron shuddered suddenly. I'm only 11 years old. Do you think this is really appropriate? Anything else? He inquired, hoping for a more reasonable option. The third is the last one, Vico said, his face becoming serious. After graduating from school, that is, before reaching the level of a magister. Aaron was exasperated. Is there a difference between saying it and not saying it? If I had the ability, I would have obtained freedom through the first method. That's not necessarily true, Vico replied meaningfully, turning his gaze to Jins. Your Uncle Jins is a magister. According to the first calculation, you have to defeat at least one magister. Fuck, Aaron exclaimed, only to be met with a stern glare from Lisanna. Don't swear. Vico stepped forward and patted his son's shoulder lightly, speaking earnestly. In fact, thanks to this fine tradition of our family, almost every generation reaches the level of a magister. It has made us a strong family in the magical world. But the downside is that after completing the family trials, each member becomes particularly free-spirited and active, which leads to fewer family gatherings and more separations. If your grandpa didn't lie to me, your great-grandfather and even your great-great-grandfather should still be alive, but they just don't know where they are wandering. Chapter 9. Mascots in the Store. Aaron lay on the bed, looking at Abe, who was sleeping soundly beside him. He smiled wryly and shook his head. Tonight, he had finally figured out what had been confusing him, but he couldn't accept it just yet. He had thought his parents' actions were driven by deep love, but it turned out to be a damn family tradition. Among the 3 ways to gain freedom, the third, which is the most difficult for others, was the easiest for him. With the growth rate of his mana, reaching the level of a magister before graduation shouldn't be a big problem. If he continued to add daily mana points at his current sign-in speed, he might even reach the threshold of becoming a great magister by the time he graduated. But that was unlikely. The various skills and magic items in the system mall were enough to distract him. Less than 1/10 of his magic points would likely be added to his mana. Moreover, the family tradition wouldn't apply to him during his school years. As long as he survived the remaining month, he would be considered free. This was good news, but why did he still feel a sense of loss? Diagon Alley. Aaron's drinks. Thanks to the license for running the dragon, Aaron could carry Abe out openly. To be on the safe side, he put a coat on Abe to ensure his wings and ears were not exposed. Even so, this lovely white cat amazed a large number of customers. Many female customers immediately fell in love with this smart and cute cat and wanted to touch it, but they only had the chance when Abe was in a good mood. His mood depended on their appearance and what they bought in the store. In short, only those who were good-looking and willing to spend money were eligible to touch him. He was too lazy to care about others. Relying on this mascot, the store's turnover abruptly increased by 30%. Someone even offered to buy Abe from Aaron for 200 gold galleons, but Aaron directly blacklisted them. 200 galleons was almost a month's profit for his small shop, a huge amount of money for an 11-year-old kid, but how much money did they think he needed? They probably didn't know that his monthly pocket money had an extra 0 compared to that amount. Besides, Abe was a holy dragon, the only ultra-rare species among dragons. Only 200 galleons. Who were they insulting? Master, although you can raise him openly, you can't just put him on the counter on the first day. Jin said with a wry smile, objecting to such a magical creature blatantly appearing on the market. Hey, Uncle Jins, don't be so rigid, Aaron laughed. Abe has been in my room until today. Now that I can finally raise him openly, I have no reason to keep him in there anymore. What's the difference between that and house arrest? Abe turned around and gave Jins a little cuteness. Faced with this magical skill of charming both men and women, Jins had no choice but to relent, his heart softening instantly. It wasn't that he didn't want to be strict, but Abe was simply a favorite in the Gaius family. If he was wrong, not only the young master, but even the master and mistress might have words for him. Okay, master, as long as you are happy, boss. Aaron nodded in satisfaction and made a victory gesture to Abe. Abe also showed a big smile, his large eyes blinking adorably. Time passed, and soon a month had gone by. In the past month, Aaron's lifestyle hadn't changed much, shuttling back and forth between home and Diagon Alley, but it was much better than before. Because their baby son was about to go to school, Gaius and his wife had been staying with him at home these days, which made Aaron feel the warmth of family for the first time in a long while. And the existence of Abe made his previously boring life a lot more fun. Besides learning from Gaius and practicing some simple spells, he spent his time teasing Abe while looking after the store. Not to mention, playing with a dragon was quite interesting and full of a sense of accomplishment. At the moment, Aaron was lying on the bed, feeling content. Aaron examined his properties panel with a mix of pride and melancholy. Magic Energy, 784. Intermediate Magician, your magical journey has just started. Talent, rare in 100 years, can be improved. Magic power increases by 2 points every day. Item Drop of the Moon, Resurrection Potion, Magic Point 82. Despite his progress, Aaron couldn't help but feel that his hard work over the past month hadn't yielded the results he had hoped for. He missed the days when his magic energy had soared into the 4 digits, even if it was just for a fleeting moment. It had felt like the pinnacle of his life. Master, today is not a day for you to sleep in, Jin's voice called from outside the door. Understood, Aaron replied, sitting up abruptly with a spark of excitement in his eyes. He grabbed Abe, who was lying next to him, and began dressing the reluctant creature. Don't be unhappy, Abe. Today is August 28th, and there are only 3 days left before school starts. We need to buy supplies. If we wait any longer, it will be too late." 10 minutes later, Aaron emerged from his room with Abe in tow. "Master, you are half an hour later than usual today," Jins remarked. "Stop nagging. You can only control me for these 3 days," Aaron retorted. Jins paused for a moment, then smiled as he realized the reason behind Aaron's words. It seems the young master is very confident in himself. Then we shall wait and see. "You'll see," Aaron replied with a shrug. To be honest, although Aaron had impressive magical talent, becoming a magister required more than just talent. Jins knew this but chose not to dampen Aaron's spirits. He believed that with time, Aaron would come to understand the challenges ahead. "Where are my parents? Aren't they coming?" Aaron asked, looking around for any sign of Gaius and his wife. "Master and Madam had urgent matters to attend to, so they left last night. Besides, most of the things you need to buy are in Diagon Alley, which is practically our backyard. Do you really need your parents to accompany you?" "That's true, but they didn't even say goodbye to their son. They must think very highly of me," Aaron said with a hint of sarcasm. After breakfast, they walked to the fireplace. With a flash of green flame, they arrived at a shop in Diagon Alley. "Clean it up," Jins said, casting a spell to tidy their clothes. "Uncle Jins, can I do the shopping alone?" Aaron asked hopefully. "Master," Jins frowned, "I believe you can handle these small tasks, but you know the traditions of the Gaius family. There are too many things we can't do based on personal preferences. Until you board the Hogwarts Express, we must ensure your safety." Aaron let out a long sigh. He had expected this answer, but it was still hard to accept. "There are only 3 days left. Can't you give me, the future patriarch, some face?" Jins shook his head calmly. "Precisely because there are only 3 days left, we cannot relax our vigilance. Please respect the fruits of our 11 years of labor. If something goes wrong in these last 3 days, it will be a stain on our lives." Aaron's mouth twitched slightly. "All right, follow along then. It's no big deal." With a resigned smile, Aaron opened a page of letter paper and reviewed the list of necessities he needed to buy. Uniforms, textbooks, wands, crucibles, a set of glass bottles, a telescope, and a brass balance. There were many places to visit: Madame Malkin's robe store, Flourish and Blots, Ollivander's wand shop, Pottage's cauldron shop, and Slug and Jigger's apothecary. Chapter 10. Life's 12th wand magic is a gift from heaven. As a talented wizard, the first thing Aaron wanted to buy was naturally a wand. A wand is essential for almost every wizard, regardless of their level. He had thought about buying a wand ever since he started learning spells, but his parents sternly refused, insisting that a 7-year-old child having a wand was too dangerous. It's not that he didn't consider buying one secretly. After all, they were not short of money, but no one knew better than him what it was like to have a dedicated bodyguard. Given his special status, Ollivander would never sell him a wand without his mother's consent. Moreover, Ollivander's shop in Diagon Alley only sold wands. While other shops in the wizarding world also sold wands, he had no chance to commit crimes under Jin's watchful eye. But today, it was finally time for him to have a wand of his own. Phew! Aaron took a deep breath and looked up at the shop's signboard. Ollivander, making excellent wands since 382 BC. He could hardly suppress his inner excitement. Ahem! Jins coughed lightly. Master, you have been standing at the door for 2 minutes. We should go in. Sorry, I couldn't help it, Aaron said awkwardly, then opened the door and walked in. The wand shop was smaller than his drink shop. It wasn't that the shop itself was small. It was just that it was packed with so many items that it gave a particularly narrow illusion. Upon entering, one could see a desk and a bench, along with ladders and stairs leading to several rooms inside, all stuffed to the brim, leaving only a narrow aisle. The walls were stacked with wooden boxes from floor to ceiling, each containing a wand. There were estimated to be thousands of wands in the store. Mr. Ollivander doesn't seem to be here, Master. Do you want to wait? Jins said playfully. Why wait? If he doesn't come, I can only try it myself, Aaron said stubbornly. Really? Then I'll tell your mother. A soft voice mixed with affection came from the stairs. A gray-haired but very energetic old man was looking at Aaron with a smile. Uncle, good morning. Aaron scratched his head in embarrassment. This was why he could never buy a wand without his parents' permission. The shop was owned by his mother's own uncle. The face of the niece still had to be given. She wouldn't let her uncle sell it to her son, so Ollivander naturally wouldn't sell it. "Good morning," Ollivander said, quickly walking down and touching Aaron's head, messing up his hairstyle. "I saw you standing outside just now. It seems that getting your first wand has you a little too excited." "It's not that. The main reason is that the paint on the signboard on your door is a little off. I was thinking whether I should pay you to replace it with a new one." "What are you talking about, kid? Is that peeling paint?" "It only shows that my store is relatively old," Ollivander said proudly. "Well, uncle, you know what I'm here for." "Yes, your mother told me the size of your arms a month ago, but I haven't looked at it. Some data still need to be measured by yourself to be more reliable," Ollivander said, taking out a silver measuring tape from his pocket. "What do you think?" "I think Uncle is right," Aaron said, his eyes twinkling. He raised his right arm with great interest, then remembered something and raised his left arm. "How about you measure this one?" Ollivander frowned. "Aren't you used to using your right hand? An extra left-handed wand just in case. What if your right hand is injured?" Aaron said with a simple and honest smile. "Of course, if you can prepare me 4 wands, that would be even better. That way, there's a spare in case something happens to the wand." "Huh?" Ollivander looked at him in surprise, as if he was getting to know his nephew all over again. After a while, he looked up at Jins and asked with some reproach, "Is this how you usually teach this child? How insecure does one have to be to say such a thing?" Jins smiled wryly and shook his head. "It's not Ike, you don't know that the young master is more precocious. Besides, do you think children born into the Gaius family would feel insecure? This is his own idea and has nothing to do with us." Aaron smiled. "Uncle, I was just joking. We all know how much you value wands. It is indeed an exaggeration for a wizard to need 4 wands. Then you're still joking with me about your wand?" Ollivander glared at Aaron. "But I still want 2 wands," Aaron said with a chuckle. "I promise to take good care of them, but I won't be helpless in case something happens." Ollivander shook his head, dumbfounded. "Okay, just wait here. I'll get you a wand that might fit." "Okay, thanks for your hard work, Uncle." Aaron smiled happily and then sat on the chair at the desk, not treating himself as an outsider at all. A few minutes later, Ollivander returned, carrying several boxes, and placed them on the desk. "You know my principles. Even if you are my grandnephew, you can't destroy them. You should be clear about this." "Of course, the wand chooses the wizard," Aaron said, recalling the first time he came to the shop. "That's good. I was really worried that you'd lose your temper and just take any wand that looks good," Ollivander said in a peculiar tone, then opened the first box. "Try this one first. It's made of cold fir wood with a core of unicorn feathers. Come and try it." Aaron took the wand excitedly and waved it lightly. A white light flickered on the wand, and he felt a warm current in his body. It was not unfamiliar and felt very smooth to use. "That's right, this wand is very suitable for me." "Not bad," Ollivander nodded, putting it back into the box. He then opened another box. "Try this one again. It's made of acacia wood, and the core is phoenix tail feathers." Aaron repeated the action, and his face became a little weird. This time, a silver light flashed at the tip of the wand, and his fingertips felt a little cool. But the most important thing was that he used this magic wand very smoothly. Ollivander also noticed this, and couldn't help but slightly raise his brows. He nervously put the second wand back into the box, and then opened the third box. But as soon as he opened it, Ollivander closed the box again. As if he had made a decision, he took out his wand. "Little Aaron, come and try this." Aaron swallowed, always feeling that his uncle was a little abnormal today, as if he was inducing children to make mistakes. "Sir, isn't it inappropriate to do this?" Jins asked with a frown. "What do you know?" Ollivander curled his lips, then rolled his eyes. "Take out your wand and give him a try." "I refuse," Jins said very stiffly. "Humph." Ollivander didn't say anything, but stared at his grandnephew with piercing eyes. "Try it quickly. Don't make me wait." "Then, Uncle, can I refuse?" "No." Ollivander directly stuffed the wand into Aaron's hand. "Hurry up. I can't wait." Aaron reluctantly complied, and a red light appeared at the top of the wand, the dazzling light dancing on the wall. This is? Jins looked at the scene in surprise, his complexion constantly changing, a little unbelievable. Ha! Ollivander let out a hearty laugh and looked at Aaron excitedly. The principles of the Ollivander family have not changed for hundreds of years, but today may be an exception. Every wand seems to choose you, even other people's, which means you can use any wand you want. I'm afraid the Elder Wand is the same. Aaron was stunned for a moment when he heard it, suddenly feeling as if he had been chosen by the world. Uncle, does that mean that I can choose any wand in your store? Of course. Great, choose 2 magic wands for me. One should be high-end and elegant, and the other low-key and luxurious with connotations. The most important thing is that they must be good-looking and elegant, and they must not lower my image. Chapter 11. Reporting my name can get a discount. Aaron had a smug look on his face as he walked out of Ollivander's wand shop. As he had hoped, he obtained 2 wands from his uncle, one pure white, made of vinewood and unicorn feathers, and one pure black, made of yew wood and dragon's nerve. Uncle Jins, this is called extraordinary talent. Now do you believe that I can reach the level of a magister before graduation? Aaron said triumphantly. Well, with all due respect, the wizarding world has never been short of talented wizards. This only proves that you are ahead of some people, but the road ahead is often full of uncertainty, Jins replied. Cut, it's a shame. Can't you say something nice to make me happy? No, good advice is often harsh, Jins said with a faint smile. Next, you should go buy a uniform. We'll just go and pick it up. I gave Mrs. Malkin your size 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure she has it ready for you. Aaron touched Abe's little head. Uncle Jins, although I don't want to ask, have you prepared Abe's clothes? It? Jins looked at the young dragon in Aaron's arms, silently thinking of the little guy's wardrobe. His cheeks twitched. It's no longer needed. The master and madam liked it very much and prepared more than 20 sets of clothes for it, with 5 or 6 sets for each season throughout the year. Honestly, you probably wouldn't have as many clothes as this if you were going to school. Besides, Mrs. Malkin doesn't make clothes for pets either. Is that so? Abe nodded fiercely. More than 20 sets were enough, and it really couldn't replace it with such a small body. All right then, let's get the clothes first, Aaron said. 2 minutes later, they walked into Madame Malkin's robe shop. A plump woman in a purple robe laughed as soon as they entered the door. I thought you guys weren't coming. How could that be? Hogwarts might not let me in without a uniform. I didn't expect our little boss to go to school, Mrs. Malkin smiled, then asked a witch to fetch Aaron's clothes. 3 sets of black plain work robes, a black daywear, a plain peaked hat, a pair of protective gloves, and a winter cloak. Your name tag, I put it on your clothes. Do you want to try it first? I don't need to. I have complete confidence in the craftsmanship of your store, Aaron smiled, stretching out his hands to take the large pile of clothes and handing them to the butler beside him. At that moment, a little girl in a black magic robe came out from the back of the shop. She had thick brown hair and was full of confidence, like a proud white swan. This little girl is also a freshman at Hogwarts. Would you like me to introduce you to her? Madame Malkin teased. Aaron raised his eyebrows and was about to say hello to his future classmate when he noticed her walking straight over. But she didn't come to look for him. Instead, she directly hugged Abe, who was on the ground. So cute. Aaron was stunned for a moment. Who am I? Where am I? What am I going to do? 3 big question marks floated over Aaron's head. It didn't make sense. He was a handsome young master who was actually robbed of the limelight by a pet. I have something to do, so I'll leave first. Mrs. Malkin was a little embarrassed, and a little red was added to her plump face. Jins couldn't help covering his mouth, and it was clear he was working very hard to hold back his laughter. Ahem? Aaron looked at the girl with a stern face. Although I appreciate your admiration, it seems a bit inappropriate to pick up someone's pet without the owner's permission. Be polite. The girl froze for a moment, her ears turning red. She said awkwardly, Sorry, I thought this kitten was unowned. Aaron was a little bit dumbfounded. If you have this kind of thought next time, please check if it is wearing clothes. No matter how you look at it, Abe has nothing to do with stray cats. So it's called Abe. That doesn't matter. What matters is whether you can give it back to me first. The girl looked at the cat in her arms, feeling a little reluctant for a moment. Forget it. If you want to hug, just hug for a while, Aaron said helplessly. After all, she was a future classmate, and the one being hugged didn't raise any objections, but seemed to enjoy it. You're going to Hogwarts too, aren't you? He asked. Yes, school starts in 3 days, the girl replied excitedly. She extended her right hand to the handsome boy in front of her. Nice to meet you. My name is Hermione Granger. Aaron Gaius, Aaron responded, shaking her hand. Suddenly, something clicked in his mind, and his eyes widened. What did you say your name was? Hermione Granger. Is there a problem? No, of course not, Aaron smiled. He never thought he would meet the heroine before school even started, and he wasn't mentally prepared for it. Did you come to Diagon Alley alone? He asked. No, my parents are here too. I'm waiting for them. They're curious about this place and are still wandering around, Hermione explained. I see, Aaron nodded. He remembered that Hermione was born into a Muggle family, so it made sense for her parents to be curious about the magical world they had never known. Have you finished shopping for your school necessities? He inquired. Everything else is bought. I just need a wand, Hermione said expectantly. Aaron recognized that look. He had been just as excited when he stood in front of his uncle's shop earlier, though now he felt a bit shy about it. After all, such excitement didn't suit a pampered young master like him. When you go to buy a wand, mention my name. The owner might give you a discount, Aaron suggested. Really? Hermione was a little surprised. Of course, Aaron said confidently. Although he wasn't sure if his uncle would sell it at cost price, he was certain a discount could be arranged. Aaron's 3-year presence in Diagon Alley had earned him similar treatment in other stores. It was a pity Hermione hadn't met him earlier. She could have saved a small fortune on her school supplies. Then I'll trust you this once, but don't lie to me, Hermione warned. Absolutely not, Aaron vowed. He wanted to chat with Hermione longer, but before they could say much more, a man and a woman walked in. Mom and Dad, Hermione greeted them simply. Hermione, who is this? Her father asked. My name is Aaron, and I'm her future classmate, Aaron said politely. Hermione nodded and reluctantly returned the white cat to Aaron. Nice to meet you, Aaron. I have to buy a wand now. See you in 3 days. Okay, see you in 3 days, Aaron replied. The two groups left Mrs. Malkin's robe shop and went their separate ways. 10 minutes later, Aaron and Gaius picked up the books they had ordered. They then visited the cauldron shop and the apothecary, buying the remaining instruments and equipment. On their way back, they passed a shop selling magic brooms. Aaron glanced at it with interest, noticing a Nimbus 2000 quietly waiting for its owner at the counter. Master want? Gaius asked. Aaron nodded, then shook his head. I'm interested, but not buying it yet. First-year students aren't allowed to bring their own broomsticks, so it would be useless for me to buy one now. I don't think so. Hogwarts has flying lessons. You could experience the magic broom in the 3 days before school starts, Gaius suggested. Forget it. The magic broom isn't very suitable for me, Aaron said. He remembered there was still a magic carpet in his system store that he hadn't bought yet. Doesn't a magic carpet sound better than a broom? Chapter 12. On the first day of September, Aaron packed his belongings and rushed to King's Cross Station early in the morning, accompanied by Jins. He was pushing a cart with 2 large suitcases, one containing his luggage and textbooks, and the other filled with various other items. He had hidden 2 magic wands on his person, the black one for regular use and the white one as a secret weapon for emergencies. Jins cast a small levitation charm on the suitcases to make them lighter. On top of one suitcase sat a very cute white kitten in clothes. Abby, quietly lying on the suitcase, attracted a lot of attention. Aaron looked at Jins, smiling nervously and excitedly. Uncle Jins, once I enter the station, you won't be able to control me anymore. Are you feeling reluctant? It's not that I'm reluctant, Jins replied. I've been mentally prepared for this for a long time. On the other hand, those who have been secretly following you will probably be relieved for a while. Aaron's face froze, and he felt a bit sullen. At 11 years old, he hadn't figured out who the secret guards were, which made him a little angry. So, can you tell me who they are now? He asked with some expectation. Jins hesitated for a moment. There are 6 in total. 2 of them protect you at a time, and they change shifts every 3 days. In terms of combat effectiveness, they are all at the elite Auror level. Fortunately, young master, you spend most of your time in Diagon Alley and the castle. If you ran around more, they might have to use apparition to change shifts in time. Heh! Aaron sneered. He remembered these people and thought to himself that even if he became powerful, he wouldn't be able to escape their watch. 10 years is not too late for a gentleman to take revenge, he mused. He didn't consider himself a sinister villain, but he was definitely not a gentleman, and he couldn't wait 10 years. Noticing the change in Aaron's expression, Jins raised his eyebrows, silently mourning for the dedicated bodyguards. As a housekeeper, he didn't have to worry about being targeted in the future, but the remaining guards would probably face Aaron's wrath. Entering the station, Aaron and Jins waved goodbye. Aaron pushed the cart slowly by himself, feeling the breath of freedom in the aisle. Although his sense of security had dropped significantly, his mood was extraordinarily relaxed. He crossed the first platform, the second platform, and didn't stop until he reached the 9th platform. At that moment, he noticed a boy pushing a cart similar to his own not far ahead. A white owl was quietly sitting in a cage on the boy's cart. The boy was discussing something with a station guard, but the conversation seemed to be unsatisfactory. The guard strode away, leaving the boy looking anxious and standing there blankly. Aaron guessed that this boy was also a freshman at Hogwarts, but didn't know how to get to the platform. A little wizard asking a muggle who didn't know about magic where the platform leading to the magic school was seemed quite amusing. Seeing that this boy might be a future classmate, Aaron decided to help him and pushed his cart over. "Hello there," Aaron greeted simply, which seemed to startle the boy. The boy turned his head in a panic and looked at Aaron, astonishment flashing in his eyes. It wasn't because of Aaron's appearance, but because Aaron was pushing something similar to his own cart, which made him look more nervous. "I can see that you seem to need a little help," Aaron said. "Ah, yes. Do you know how to get to platform 9 3/4? The boy asked with some embarrassment. "You are asking the right person. I happen to know where that platform is. But, as a young wizard about to enter school, it's quite strange that you don't know where the platform is. Don't you have family with you?" Aaron inquired. The boy hesitated for a moment, then stopped talking. Aaron noticed the boy's hesitation and decided not to press further. "Come with me. I can see that things aren't great between you and your family," he said. "Thank you," the boy whispered, following Aaron silently. They walked a short distance until they reached the area between platforms 9 and 10. Aaron pointed to a stone wall at the junction. "This is it, platform 9 3/4. You just need to run at it." The boy looked at the stone wall in astonishment. "Are you saying we have to run into it?" "Yes, you go first," Aaron replied calmly. The boy hesitated, eyeing Aaron with suspicion. "Are you sure you're not trying to trick me?" Aaron sighed. "If I go in first, I won't be able to come back out to help you. Trust me, it's safe." Still unsure, the boy said, "Why don't you go first? I have no experience with this." "That's exactly why you should go first. If I go in, I can't come back to guide you," Aaron explained. He noticed the boy's reluctance and frowned. "Do you not believe me?" "It's not that," the boy said after a moment of thought. "It's just, this is a wall, and we just met." Aaron felt a twinge of offense. He was trying to help his future classmate, yet the boy doubted him. "Are you a half-blood wizard, a pure-blood wizard, or are your parents muggles?" "Both my parents were wizards," the boy replied hesitantly. Aaron scrutinized the boy. "That doesn't make sense. You should know more about the magical world if both your parents were wizards." "My parents died when I was 1 year old. I've been living with my uncle," the boy explained. "Oh, that explains it," Aaron said, understanding dawning on his face. "They must not be very kind people." "Indeed. But how did you know?" the boy asked, surprised. "Your clothes are too big and your glasses are held together with tape. It's clear that your family doesn't treat you well," Aaron pointed out, gesturing to the boy's oversized coat and patched-up glasses. "It's the first day of school. You should be dressed better. Luckily, Hogwarts has uniforms, so you won't need these casual clothes." The boy's condition made Aaron wonder if he even had proper school uniforms. Given your situation, it's understandable that you're cautious. You're still thinking like a muggle. I'll forgive you for that, Aaron said. He pointed to the wall again. To muggles, this is just a wall, but to wizards, it's a door to the magical world. I'll demonstrate once, but after that, you're on your own. The boy felt a pang of regret. He didn't think Aaron was lying, and even if he was, what did he have to lose? Wait, let me go first, he said hastily. Aaron stopped and looked at him playfully. Are you sure? Not really, but I don't have any other options. I might as well try, the boy said, taking a deep breath. Good, Aaron said, snapping his fingers. You're smarter than I thought. Go ahead. The boy pushed his cart forward, rushing towards the wall. He closed his eyes, bracing for impact, but nothing happened. He passed through the wall and found himself on platform 9 3/4. Aaron watched the boy disappear, shrugged, and calmly pushed his own cart through the wall. For him, it was a simple task, requiring no run-up or mental preparation. Chapter 13. A Chance Encounter. A red and black train was parked beside the platform, its locomotive belching out hot white steam. The Hogwarts Express sign hung at the front, and platform 9 3/4 was marked on the aisle on one side. The platform was bustling with activity. After all, today was the first day of school. Many wizard parents had come to send their children off, and almost every one of them had brought a stroller. Cats and owls, the two pets allowed by the school, were everywhere, and only a few people held a toad in their arms. After passing through the wall, Aaron noticed a boy staring wide-eyed, looking at everything around him with curiosity. His eyes lingered on the train the longest. Aaron couldn't help but feel sympathetic. It wasn't just that this boy didn't know much about the wizarding world. Judging by his behavior, he probably knew even less about the Muggle world. From his joyful gestures, it was clear he didn't know much about magic at all, and had probably never been on the train before. Ahem, I can see you're very excited, but I should remind you that the train will leave in about 10 minutes. You should find a carriage and put your luggage and owl away, Aaron advised. The boy reacted and said gratefully, Thank you. Can you tell me your name? Just call me Aaron. No need to thank me. It's no trouble at all. Oh, the boy nodded, wanting to say something, but hesitating. The two walked through the bustling crowd and found an empty compartment on the train. Aaron's luggage was light, and he easily stowed it away, but the boy had a lot of heavy things. Even after dragging them for a long time, he couldn't lift them. Oh, Aaron sighed. You should be honored. This is the first time I've moved things for someone else. Sorry, the boy said, embarrassed. Aaron wanted to show off his strength in front of his future classmate, but he also found the box particularly heavy. Ahem, it's quite heavy. How about I go find someone to help, the boy suggested. No, it's just a suitcase. There's no need to ask for help, Aaron said, looking at the distance of more than 10 meters from the carriage. He couldn't help but sigh, thinking this would be the longest road he had traveled today. Do you need help? A voice sounded from behind them. Although it was a bit frivolous, it sounded like heaven to Aaron. Do not. As soon as the boy said no, Aaron couldn't wait to say, that would be great. Didn't you just say? Asking someone for help and others taking the initiative to help are completely different things, Aaron said bluntly, with a calmness that belied his age. Trust me, you'll understand this in the future. The boy seemed to understand something, looked at the red-haired boy, and said shyly and hesitantly, I think I really need help. He then turned and called, Hey Fred, come and help. After a while, a red-haired boy who looked exactly like the first one came over. They were clearly twins, not only looking the same, but even carrying the same luggage. With the help of 2 more people, the box was finally carried into the compartment. Thank you. Otherwise, who knows when we would have finished moving, the boy said. Aaron took out 2 lollipops from his pocket and handed them over, causing the young dragon to give him an aggrieved look. Although this box has nothing to do with me, a necessary thank you is still needed. Please don't be disgusted, and be sure to accept it. This, one of the red-haired boys hesitated. Although the lollipop was unopened, it had been taken from a pet's pocket. Despite their usual mischief, the 2 brothers had never taken food from a pet. That's not necessary. It was just a small favor, the other red-haired boy said. Abe's big eyes narrowed as he proudly took his candy from Aaron. The first red-haired boy's eyes lit up, and he looked at Abe with eager eyes. Your cat is so cute. Can we give it a hug? Just one. I'm afraid that won't work. Abe has always disliked strangers, Aaron replied. It's a pity, he red-haired boy said regretfully. Then a voice came from outside the carriage. Fred, George, are you in the car? Here we come, Mom, the brothers shouted immediately and jumped out of the carriage. From Aaron's perspective, he could see them walking up to a plump woman, accompanied by a red-haired boy and a red-haired girl. It seemed they were a family. Aaron sincerely admired this mother. After all, raising 4 children was no easy task. However, after a while, another taller red-haired boy joined them, and they began talking amongst themselves. Good guy, really good guy, Aaron muttered. What did you say? The boy next to him asked. Nothing, just thinking that woman must be a great mother. 5 children, and she manages to keep the family so harmonious, Aaron replied. The boy turned his head and saw the twin brothers greeting him, which startled him into retracting his head immediately. Soon, the Hogwarts Express started moving, slowly increasing its speed amidst the rhythmic sound of da-da-da. The boy was very excited. Buildings flashed before his eyes, and even the ordinary sights like the forest, fields, and the blue sky with white clouds seemed incredibly novel and beautiful to him. This was the happiest time in his life, because he was far away from his uncle's family, away from his cousin's oppression, and he wouldn't be mediocre in a Muggle high school. At that moment, the boy noticed something strange. Aaron, who was sitting across from him, seemed even more excited than he was, with a trace of light in his eyes as he looked out of the window. This puzzled him. Could it be that Aaron was also a child fostered in someone else's home and oppressed? It didn't seem like it. After a few seconds, the boy tentatively asked, Aaron? Ah, what's wrong? Aaron responded. It's just that you seem very excited, the boy observed. Do I? Is it that obvious? Aaron asked, holding Abe, who was clutching a lollipop, with some embarrassment. He tried to ease the exaggerated expression on his face. The boy nodded hastily. It's very obvious. After all, I'm going to a magic school. It's normal to be a little excited, Aaron said, then looked at the boy. By the way, I don't know your name yet. My name is... Before the boy could finish speaking, the door of the compartment opened, and a red-haired boy looked at the two of them cautiously. Excuse me, can I sit here? The other places are full. The boy recognized him immediately as the younger brother of the twin brothers who had helped him with his luggage earlier. He patted the seat next to him. Just sit down. Thank you. The red-haired boy sat down and introduced himself. My name is Ron Weasley. My name is Harry Potter, the boy said, pointing to Aaron on the opposite side. And his name is Aaron. Aaron almost dropped Abe out of the window in surprise. What was this scenario? The outrageous things he hadn't encountered in the past 11 years were all happening in the first few days of school. He hadn't even started school yet, and had already met the protagonist group. What kind of luck was this? Ron's eyes widened immediately. He looked at Harry with more admiration and pointed to his forehead nervously. So, is that true? I mean, do you really have that what? Harry asked, puzzled. Scar, Ron clarified. Oh! Harry lifted the hair on his forehead, revealing a lightning-shaped scar, a little proud. Absolutely, Ron sighed in awe. Oh, Aaron sighed deeply. What do you mean by sighing? Ron asked. He is a celebrity in the wizarding world, the boy who lived, Harry Potter. There are even some books that record his legendary deeds, Aaron remarked, giving him a blank look. So what? I don't follow celebrities, and that scar isn't exactly a blessing for him. But I really didn't expect that I would end up sitting in the same carriage as the famous Harry Potter. That's right, I think so too. Fate is such a wonderful thing, his companion replied. Aaron paused for a moment, contemplating. Good one, I think, he finally said, a hint of amusement in his voice. Chapter 14. The Clear Wealth Gap Between Wizarding Families. Harry and Ron seemed to hit it off right away, chatting casually in the carriage. Aaron hugged Abe, leisurely looking at the scenery outside, savoring the rare breath of freedom. Suddenly, there was a click sound from outside the compartment, and a plump saleswoman pushed a cart full of various snacks. She looked at the three of them and asked, Do you want to buy something, kids? No, thank you. I brought my own, Ron said, taking out a sandwich wrapped in transparent oilcloth with some embarrassment. I'm not hungry, Aaron said, then suddenly thought of something and glanced at the pet in his arms. But let's have some snacks. The saleswoman smiled happily. Okay, sir, what do you need? We have multi-flavored beans, chocolate frogs, pies, cakes. You don't need to list everything, Aaron interrupted, a bit impatient. He took out a galleon. Just the 4 things you mentioned. That should be enough for 3 people. Oh, wait a moment, the saleswoman said, rummaging through her cart. She placed a pile of snacks on the table in the compartment and handed Aaron a few sickles as change. Wow! Ron's eyes widened. Aaron, what does your family do? You seem so rich. Actually, it's nothing, just a small business, Aaron replied casually. But you just gave her a galleon, Ron exclaimed in astonishment. I probably don't have that much pocket money for a year. Aaron's mouth twitched. He always felt that Ron looked like he had never seen money before. I think it may be because you have so many siblings, so the cost is relatively high. Ron nodded silently. Actually, you don't fully understand. I have 5 older brothers and 1 younger sister. Aaron was taken aback. No wonder this kid's pocket money is less than 1 galleon. An already poor family has to raise 7 children, which makes things even harder. If they don't plan carefully, they might not be able to survive. I just thought your mother was great, being able to take care of 7 children, but I didn't expect your father to be even greater, supporting your family with 1 person's salary. What do you mean? Ron asked, puzzled. It's nothing. I'm just expressing my admiration for your father, Aaron said, then pointed to the snacks on the table. Don't just stand there, both of you. If you want to eat, you're welcome to, but remember to leave a few pies for my pet Abe. It would be better if they have meat fillings. Ron couldn't help but look at the white cat. Your pet is so cute. I only have 1 mouse and Percy threw it away. As he spoke, he took out a fat gray mouse from his pocket. It's called Scabbers, and it's hopeless. It only eats and sleeps all day long. Aaron immediately moved back, trying to distance himself from the mouse. On the contrary, Abe in his arms seemed to smell something disgusting, showing a vigilant and disgusted expression. The cat pointed at the sleeping mouse with a white paw, grinning continuously. Ron quickly took his pet back. He almost forgot that Aaron's pet was a cat, and there was no difference between taking out the mouse in front of the cat and feeding it. Don't worry, my Abe doesn't eat mice, Aaron said, comforting Abe with a wry smile. He looked at the mouse with some scrutiny. After all, Abe is a holy dragon, not a cat, and it shouldn't be an ordinary mouse that can make it react like this. Or perhaps it wasn't a mouse at all. But this had nothing to do with him. Even if Ron also raised a magical creature that he had never seen before, it was nothing to worry about. Only then did Ron put Scabbers on the table with peace of mind and began enjoying the food. As for the sandwich he brought, he threw it aside long ago. What was it compared to these snacks? Harry picked up a box, glanced at it, and put the beans inside into his mouth. Then he felt an indescribable taste, and the expression on his face became weird. That's Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, said Ron. They come in all sorts of flavors. Chocolate, mint, spinac, tripe. George mentioned he's had some snot-flavored ones too. Ouch! Aaron suddenly felt a bit nauseous and immediately decided to blacklist this snack. Harry silently spat out the multi-flavored beans in his mouth and threw them into the trash can. He felt that most of what he had eaten tasted like snot. After a while, Harry picked up another box labeled chocolate frogs and asked curiously, "Is there really a frog in here?" "That's understandable," Aaron laughed. "This is magic. I usually buy these snacks for the collectible cards inside. Each pack has pictures of great magicians. I've already collected more than 500 pictures," Ron said. Harry unpacked the box, and a frog croaked in the carriage. The eyes of the pure chocolate-colored frog moved slightly before it jumped towards the glass window. But before it could escape, Abe jumped up and grabbed it, proudly putting the piece of chocolate into his mouth. "Cough! Cough!" Aaron coughed lightly, and Abe stopped in embarrassment. "Eat, but be careful. I don't want your mouth to be full of chocolate," Aaron laughed. Abe was stunned for a moment, then raised his paws and broke the chocolate frog into smaller pieces before putting them into his mouth. This scene stunned Harry and Ron. They had seen cats before, but never one as smart and human-like as Abe. "Aaron, how much did you pay for this cat? Isn't it very expensive?" Ron asked in a daze. He silently compared Abe to Scabbers and suddenly felt that his mouse was not as impressive. "This cat was left to me by my family elders, I think," Aaron said with a strange expression. He didn't know how to explain it, but that was the meaning conveyed in the dragon's license. "I don't know how much it's worth, but I know I wouldn't sell it for any amount." "So that's the case," Ron said, somewhat enviously. "By the way, what's your last name?" "Gaius. I am from the Gaius family." Ron was stunned for a moment. He hadn't heard much about this surname. Harry picked up the picture in the box. It depicted an old man with a white beard and glasses who looked very kind, though his nose was a bit crooked. What was miraculous was that the picture was moving, something impossible in the Muggle world. The name on the card read, Albus Dumbledore. "It's Dumbledore! I already have 6 of him," Ron laughed. Harry smiled, and when he looked down at the picture again, the image had disappeared, which was quite novel for a child just introduced to the wizarding world. "He's gone? He's not going to be there all day, is he?" said Ron. "He'll be back." "There is no need to be so serious. Our headmaster is Dumbledore. Seeing the real person is definitely more impressive than looking at pictures," Ron added. Even though he said this, Harry still put the picture away, feeling a mysterious attachment to it. The train passed through woods and fields, arriving at a plain. Outside the window was a lake, its sparkling light creating a sense of calm. Aaron might have been in a better mood if a mouse hadn't been nibbling at the food on the table. "Ron, could you ask your mouse to be quiet?" Aaron asked. Sorry about that," Ron said awkwardly, lifting the mouse from the table. "By the way, Fred taught me a spell that can turn it yellow. I'll show you too." "Okay, apart from Hagrid, I haven't seen any other wizards cast spells." Harry showed great interest. Aaron nodded as well. After all, a magic show could add a little fun to this not-so-long journey. Chapter 15. I was brainwashed before school started. Ron pulled out his wand with some embarrassment. It looked a little old, and it didn't seem like it belonged to a new student at all. It might have been a second-hand product, or even a third-hand product. Given the poverty of the Weasleys, it wasn't surprising. The wand he used may have been passed down through the family for generations. Ron cleared his throat and raised his wand lightly. "Yang?" As soon as he uttered the first word of the spell, a girl in a black robe appeared at the door of their compartment, looking slightly out of breath. "Hermione?" "Huh?" The girl was stunned for a moment, as if she didn't expect anyone here to know her. She then turned her gaze to the source of the voice. "Aaron, are you here too?" Hermione said with some joy. "Of course," Aaron rolled his eyes. "I'm also a freshman at Hogwarts, so it's normal for me to be on this train." "That's right," Hermione said with some embarrassment. "By the way, have you seen a toad? Someone named Neville lost one." "Woo," Abe groaned softly, then patted his stomach triumphantly. Hermione's complexion changed slightly. "Don't tell me you ate it." Aaron patted Abe directly on the head. "Don't get me wrong, he just ate a chocolate frog. As for the toad you mentioned, we haven't seen it yet." "Okay," said Hermione, and then she laid her eyes on Ron's wand. "You're doing magic. May I see?" Ron cleared his throat again, trying to make his spell sound as clear as possible. Sunshine, daisies, and buttery scents quickly turned this stupid fat mouse yellow. The wand swung down, and then nothing happened. Not a hair changed color. Ron looked at the 3 people in the compartment with some embarrassment, his face slightly red. The corner of Aaron's mouth twitched. "Ron, your brother must be very fond of pranks, right? I've read a lot of books and know many spells, but this is the first time I've heard of such a spell. Are you sure it's a spell?" Ron didn't know what to say, and he also realized that he was probably deceived by Fred. "Indeed, your spell doesn't seem to be very effective," Hermione said. "Of course, I have also tried a few simple spells, and they all work." As Hermione spoke, she drew out her wand, sat next to Aaron, and pointed her wand at Harry's worn-out glasses. For example, before she could finish speaking, Aaron suppressed the black wand in her hand. "Aaron, what are you doing?" Hermione said, a little displeased. Her interest in casting spells diminished. I just think it's best not to target people when testing spells, or at least get their consent. It may be impolite and dangerous to start directly like this. It's okay if you succeed, but in case you fail. It was only then that Hermione noticed the boy opposite her was staring at her nervously, with a hint of panic in addition to vigilance in his eyes. "Excuse me, can you give me your glasses?" "Oh, no problem." Harry breathed a sigh of relief, then took off his glasses and handed them to Hermione. Hermione waved her wand lightly and said the spell, Oculus Reparo. The patches on the nose pads of the glasses popped out, and the nose pads were all new. "It'll be fixed soon," said Hermione. Harry picked up his glasses with wide eyes and exchanged a glance with the surprised Ron, as if he didn't expect this proud girl's magic to be so effective. Hermione also noticed the lightning scar on Harry's forehead and said in surprise, "It's amazing, you are Harry Potter." "Wait, Hermione, how do you know about him?" Aaron asked in surprise. It's normal for a wizard to know Harry Potter. After all, the boy who lived a catastrophe is a household name in the wizarding world. But Hermione is a child of a pure Muggle family, and she also knows the name of Harry Potter, which is a bit unusual. Muggles probably know only a little less about the wizarding world than Harry Potter himself. "Read a book. His name is included in several books about the wizarding world," Hermione explained. Hermione spoke Nat, Urally, books that record the history of modern magic. "So that's how it is. If you're so studious, you'll most likely be assigned to Ravenclaw," Aaron remarked. "Ravenclaw?" Hermione raised her eyebrows slightly. "But I want to go to Gryffindor. Dumbledore graduated from that house, so it must be excellent. What about you, Aaron? Which house do you want to be in?" "Me? It doesn't matter, as long as it's not Hufflepuff. But there's a good chance I'll be assigned to Slytherin." "No, you can't go to that house," Harry said hastily, then blushed and lowered his head. "I heard from Hagrid that almost all the people who come out of that house are dark wizards." "Huh?" Aaron frowned, then smiled disdainfully. "If I'm not mistaken, Hagrid must have graduated from Gryffindor. Only Gryffindors hate Slytherin so much." "But my parents also said that Slytherins weren't nice people," Ron added. "Huh? Your parents didn't graduate from Gryffindor, did they?" Aaron asked. Ron didn't speak, but his silence was an answer. "My God, you two are really brainwashed before you even started school. Why does Hogwarts keep the house if Slytherin is really that bad? If Slytherin were dismantled, wouldn't the law and order in the wizarding world be greatly improved? And as far as I know, Slytherin is the best achieving house among the four." "Slytherins are the worst anyway," Ron muttered. "You know who came from that house." "Alas," Aaron sighed. "Forget it. Let's wait and see. I don't think there is any distinction between good and bad houses, only talents. You can't say there are no good people in the huge Slytherin." Harry and Ron were speechless. Although they hated Slytherin, they couldn't deny the whole house just because they didn't like it. "That's not wrong." Hermione smiled and stood up. "I still have to help Neville find his toad, so I'll be leaving first. By the way, just to remind you, it's time to change into your uniforms. We should be almost there." Hermione paused as she walked out of the compartment. She turned her head and looked at Ron, then pointed to her nose. "You have something dirty on your nose, you know? It's right here." Ron glared at her lightly and then began to wipe his nose with his hands. After discovering the dirt on his hands, he looked at the two sullenly. "Why didn't you remind me?" "Sorry, you're on my left, and I don't have good eyesight, so I didn't see you," Harry said. "Dirty things?" Aaron couldn't help laughing. "I thought it was a birthmark." "Ron." As night fell, the express train got closer and closer to the terminal, finally stopping with the sound of long whistles. Students of all grades, wearing black robes, got off the train one after another, and the once empty platform suddenly became crowded. However, it wasn't too crowded, as the students' suitcases were all in the train and would be packed and sent to Hogwarts by someone. "Here we are, first-year students. Please go this way. Come on, first-year students, don't be shy. Hurry up and catch up," a rough-looking giant with a big beard said loudly, holding a lamp. "That's Hagrid," Harry introduced to Ron and Aaron excitedly. "A giant?" Aaron raised his eyebrows. "Nowadays, the number of giants is relatively rare. I only saw them a few times in Diagon Alley. I didn't expect there to be one at Hogwarts. He's the gamekeeper. said Harry, waving at Hagrid. Chapter 16. Some family symbols are mysterious. Hi, Harry, Hagrid greeted with a broad smile. His eyes then fell on the creature in Aaron's arms, and they lit up with curiosity. Having raised magical animals for many years, Hagrid could tell that this overly cute cat in clothes was anything but ordinary. "Hey there, freshman. Your cat is very cute. Can I hold him?" Hagrid asked. Before Aaron could respond, Abe the cat shook his head vigorously. "Who are you? I don't know you at all. Why should I let you hold me?" His expression seemed to say. "Sorry, Ab is my family. As you can see, I have to respect his wishes," Aaron explained. He had no intention of letting Hagrid get too close. Not only did Hagrid's unkempt appearance and peculiar smell make him less approachable, but as a gamekeeper, Hagrid was extremely sensitive to animals. Aaron didn't want to risk exposing that he had a dragon, especially as a new student. "That's a pity." Hagrid shrugged, but he didn't seem too disappointed. After all, this freshman would be at Hogwarts for 7 years, and there would be plenty of opportunities in the future. "First-year students, come here to board the boats. Hurry up, follow me," Hagrid instructed, resuming his duties. The first-year students followed him along a long, slippery path in the dark until they reached the edge of the Black Lake. Across the lake stood a massive castle built on a hillside, its many spires illuminated by soft yellow lights, adding a touch of mystery under the moonlight. The freshmen crossed the lake in small boats, each carrying 4 people. Hagrid, being quite large, took a boat to himself. Aaron, Harry, Ron, and Hermione shared a boat, looking around with curiosity and excitement, occasionally voicing their admiration. The boats landed quickly, and after ensuring no one was lost, Hagrid pointed to the stairs ahead. "Go straight up the stairs. Professor McGonagall will take it from here." The new students did as instructed, climbing several flights of stairs until they reached a landing where a witch in a green robe and black pointed hat awaited them. Her expression was stern, perhaps from waiting for a while. "Welcome to Hogwarts. In a moment, you'll walk through these doors to join your fellow students. However, before taking a seat, you must be sorted into your houses. There are Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin. During your time here, your house will be like your home. Good performance will earn points for your house, while breaking rules will lose points. At the end of the year, the house with the most points wins the House Cup, a great honor," Professor McGonagall explained. Just then, the croak of a frog echoed in front of Professor McGonagall. A chubby boy among the new students widened his eyes at the familiar sound. Neville had often lost his toad, Trevor. He had lost it once before boarding the train, and, with Hermione's help, had found it with great difficulty. After arriving at Hogwarts, he lost it again and had been unable to find it. Now, seeing Trevor in front of him, Neville was overjoyed. As he moved to retrieve his toad, Trevor jumped into his hands on his own. "Trevor!" Neville exclaimed, hugging his toad happily. Though he didn't understand how Trevor had found him, it didn't diminish his joy. Meanwhile, Professor McGonagall's keen eyes noticed the black wand peeking from Aaron's sleeve. A slight smile tugged at the corners of her mouth, thinking that the school had recruited a talented magician this time. "The sorting ceremony will begin shortly. You'd better tidy up your clothes and faces, because this will be held in front of the entire school," Professor McGonagall advised. After Professor McGonagall finished speaking, she left the group of freshmen standing in place. A blonde-haired boy looked at Harry with curiosity and said, "It seems what they said is true. Harry Potter is coming to Hogwarts." The freshmen exchanged bewildered glances, especially sensitive to the name Harry Potter. The blonde boy then looked at the 2 burly boys standing behind him who resembled door guards and introduced them to Harry. "This is Crabbe and this is Goyle," he said. "I'm Malfoy." He walked up to Harry and, fearing Harry might not remember his name, solemnly added, "Draco Malfoy." Ron couldn't help but laugh. Malfoy glared at him. "Do you think my name is funny? I don't need to ask what your name is. Red hair, old hand-me-down robes, you must be a Weasley." Ron pursed his lips and glared at Draco, but didn't refute him. Malfoy turned back to Harry. "You'll find that certain wizarding families are superior, Potter. Don't make friends with the wrong sort. I can help you." Draco extended his right hand to Harry. "I think I can tell the good from the bad, thank you," Harry said calmly. Draco's face darkened. Harry Potter had just rejected his offer of friendship in front of everyone. Just as Draco was about to retort, Aaron coughed lightly. Some wizarding families are indeed superior to others, but if you spoke with a better attitude, you might achieve different results. Malfoy turned to look at Aaron in the freshman group and said proudly, "Who are you? It's not your place to teach me how to do things." Aaron. Harry became anxious. Malfoy seemed like the type who could be both wealthy and influential. What if Aaron faced retaliation for standing up to him? Aaron ignored Malfoy's arrogance. Instead, he extended his right hand and smiled. "Gaius. Aaron Gaius, nice to meet you. Are you from the Gaius family?" Malfoy narrowed his eyes, and his arrogance diminished instantly. "It's not important. What matters is my attitude and your response," Aaron said, still smiling and gesturing to his outstretched hand. Draco shook hands with Aaron, looking dazed. "Nice to meet you." "That's right. Attitude is key to making friends. You put yourself on a pedestal from the very beginning. Those who know you might think you're trying to make friends, but those who don't might think you're trying to take slaves. Few people will respond well to that." "Thank you," Malfoy said reluctantly, as if the words were difficult for him to utter. Ron watched the scene with wide eyes and silently pulled Harry a little further away. Although he had some affection for Aaron, the moment Aaron interacted with Malfoy, that affection began to wane. Crabbe and Goyle exchanged astonished looks. They were Draco's followers and knew how difficult it was to get him to say thank you. At that moment, Professor McGonagall returned and saw the two boys shaking hands amicably. She was momentarily stunned, but quickly regained her composure. "It's ready over there. Come with me." As they walked, Goyle asked Draco, "Malfoy, is this Gaius family famous? I don't remember them among the 28 pure-blood families." "You don't know. I heard about them from my father." Draco replied, "Pure-blood families represent noble blood, except for some that disgrace pure blood, like the Weasleys. There are also 4 wizarding families that represent mystery. Their existence spans time, and it's hard to find even a single mention of them in the vast books. It's rumored they are always guarding something. They may not be well known in the wizarding world, but their heritage, connections, and influence are no less than those of pure-blood families. As my father says, you can never imagine. The Gaius family is one of those deeply hidden families with unknown resources and power. Even the mysterious man and the previous Dark Lord sought their support, but were either rejected or couldn't even locate them. The Gaius family in particular is shrouded in mystery. In short, it's wise to befriend them if possible, and if not, it's best to avoid offending them. Chapter 17. Is this the only hat? The freshmen followed Professor McGonagall into a grand auditorium. Small fires flickered on the walls, and countless candles hung from the ceiling, casting a bright light throughout the room. All the senior students sat around 4 long tables, each representing their respective houses. At the front of each table were empty seats, reserved for the new students about to join their houses. "It's beautiful," Aaron remarked, looking up at the ceiling, which resembled a night sky, similar to what he had seen by the Black Lake. "It's enchanted. I read about it in the history of Hogwarts," said Hermione. Aaron paused for a moment, then gave her a thumbs up. "You know more than I thought. I bet no one else among the freshmen would notice these details except you. Hermione, do you ever want to know about the author's life when you read a book?" "How did you know?" Hermione looked very surprised. Aaron rolled his eyes. "Just a guess, but are you sure you don't want to go to Ravenclaw? I think it would be the perfect place for you. You'd make a lot of like-minded friends and definitely be one of the top students." Hermione hesitated. "Let's see what happens. It's not up to us to decide the sorting." "That's true," Aaron shrugged, saying nothing more, but it was clear that Hermione still wanted to go to Gryffindor. The crowd was led to a high platform by Professor McGonagall. In the center stood Albus Dumbledore, easily recognizable by his long white beard. On either side of him were various teachers and Hagrid. In the center of the steps was a stool, and on top of it was a worn, old pointed hat with many patches, covered in a thick layer of dust. "Is this the sorting hat?" "It's different from what I imagined," Aaron said, confused. The thought of wearing this tattered hat irritated him. The idea that such a hat would determine their house for the next 7 years seemed absurd, even if it was an old magical item. The hat on the stool seemed to hear Aaron's muttering. It crumpled into a human face and gave him a provocative smile. It wasn't the first time it had encountered a skeptical new student like Aaron, but it had to be worn regardless. "Hey, my temper," Aaron responded with a glare. The smiley face of the Sorting Hat creased even more, as if enjoying Aaron's discomfort. "Please wait here for a while," Professor McGonagall said. "Professor Dumbledore wants to say a few words before the ceremony begins." The white-haired old man stood up and addressed the room. "I have a few announcements for the start of the school year. First-year students, please note that this school strictly prohibits anyone from entering the Dark Forest. Additionally, our caretaker, Mr. Filch, wants me to remind you that the corridor on the 3rd floor and the corridor on the right are also forbidden areas. If you don't want to meet a dreadful fate, stay away from them." Aaron glanced in the direction Dumbledore indicated. A tall, thin old man with dark eyes and a balding head was staring at them, as if waiting for them to make a mistake. At his feet was a black and white cat, which also looked rather fierce. After Dumbledore finished speaking, Professor McGonagall picked up a long piece of parchment. "Next, the students whose names I read will come to the front. I will place the Sorting Hat on your heads, and it will determine your house." "Wait," Aaron stepped forward. "Professor McGonagall, I want to ask if Hogwarts only has this one Sorting Hat? Can it be changed? After all, it looks really dirty and scary." Aaron's comment about cleanliness elicited a burst of laughter in the lobby. Professor McGonagall was momentarily stunned before she responded with some regret. "There is only this Sorting Hat." "Can you wash it?" "I might be able to accept it then," Aaron suggested. The Sorting Hat, clearly offended, retorted, "I can't accept this, so don't even think about it." Aaron, unfazed, replied coldly, "I'm asking the professor, is it impolite for you to interrupt suddenly? Props are always props. Don't place yourself too high, or you'll lose self-awareness." He then turned his attention back to Professor McGonagall. "Professor, is it okay?" This. Professor McGonagall hesitated, glancing at Dumbledore, who remained silent, leaving her unsure of how to respond. "Okay, Professor, I understand," Aaron said, not wanting to prolong her discomfort. He sighed deeply. "Please continue the sorting ceremony." "All right," Professor McGonagall said, giving Aaron a long, thoughtful look before resuming the ceremony. "Hannah Abbott!" A ruddy-complexioned little girl nervously sat on the stool, and Professor McGonagall placed the Sorting Hat on her head. "Let me think about it," the Sorting Hat murmured before declaring, "I see, Hufflepuff." The senior students at the Hufflepuff table applauded and cheered as Hannah quickly ran to join them. "Susan Bones," Professor McGonagall called out the next name. "Hufflepuff." The Sorting Hat announced cheerfully, much faster than the first time, "Terry Boot, Ravenclaw." The sorting ceremony continued, with the 4 houses, Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, and Slytherin, welcoming new students. The 4 long tables below erupted in cheers from time to time. Ron Weasley, to the delight of his family, was sorted into Gryffindor, as was Hermione Granger. When it was Draco Malfoy's turn, the Sorting Hat barely touched his hair before declaring Slytherin, as if he was destined for that house. After another 10 minutes, only Harry Potter and Aaron Gaius remained standing in front of the high platform. "Harry Potter," Professor McGonagall announced, and the entire auditorium fell silent. Students began whispering, craning their necks to get a glimpse of the boy with the lightning scar. Even Dumbledore, seated at the main table, leaned forward slightly, watching expectantly. "Don't be nervous. Just follow your inner thoughts," Aaron advised Harry, "although it may not be useful." "Thank you," Harry replied, walking slowly to the chair and sitting down. "Well, this is not easy. This is really too difficult," the Sorting Hat said, beginning its analysis. "I can see that you are very courageous, not bad-hearted, talented, and extremely eager to prove yourself. But where should you be placed?" The pointed top of the Sorting Hat wavered, shaking left and right as it deliberated. "Not Slytherin, not Slytherin." Harry whispered repeatedly, eyes closed, fearing the hat would place him in the house he least wanted. Aaron watched the scene with amusement. It was clear that Harry, influenced by Hagrid and Ron, instinctively believed he belonged in Gryffindor and was resistant to Slytherin. Without his own ideas, other people's opinions would heavily influence his future, but that was Harry's choice, not Aaron's concern. "Not Slytherin, are you sure?" the Sorting Hat asked, having heard Harry's mutterings. "You could stand out there, and the wisdom is in your little head. Slytherins can help you do great things, there's no question about that." Harry remained resolute, not changing his mind. Harry kept repeating the phrase, "Not Slytherin, not Slytherin." "Okay, now that you've made up your mind, go to Gryffindor," the Sorting Hat declared. Harry opened his eyes, a relieved smile spreading across his face. The Gryffindor table erupted in applause, louder than usual, due to Harry's great reputation. Prefect Percy Weasley stood up and shook Harry's hand excitedly, while his brothers, Fred and George, clapped enthusiastically and cheered. "We have Potter." Most of the teachers and staff at the head table also applauded vigorously. Dumbledore even raised his glass to Harry in a gesture of welcome. After the short burst of cheers, everyone's attention shifted to Aaron, who was still waiting to be sorted. Chapter 18. After all, I entered the Snake Court. Aaron Gaius. Professor McGonagall called out Aaron's full name. "Ha-ha! It's finally your turn, little guy." The Sorting Hat let out a triumphant laugh. Aaron spread his hands. "To be honest, I didn't really want to be the last one. The people before me were too good, and the pressure on those who follow is always great." As he spoke, he hugged Abe, who had climbed to the top of his head without him noticing, and walked up the steps. "Professor McGonagall, can I ask you one last question?" "Okay. Just ask." "If I cast a cleansing charm on this hat, it won't avenge itself during the sorting, will it?" Professor McGonagall looked down at the Sorting Hat in her hand and hesitated. "Probably not." "No," the Sorting Hat said proudly. "I used to be Godric Gryffindor's wizard hat, and I was blessed by the other 3 founders of Hogwarts. With the wisdom of the founders, it is impossible for me to do such a shameless thing." "Really? Then I'm relieved." Aaron nodded in satisfaction and then took out a black wand. The Sorting Hat began to tremble, recalling the meaning of Aaron's words. "What do you want to do? I warn you, don't mess around. I am the Sorting Hat, and my seniority may be much older than you think. No matter how old you are, you're just a hat. It's not something to show off," Aaron said, then waved his wand. "Scourgify." "No!" The Sorting Hat let out a long cry, and then a puff of white smoke emerged, bouncing off all the dust. Although its appearance was still worn, it was at least 100 times cleaner than before. "How dare you!" The Sorting Hat showed a fierce expression, but it seemed more stern than angry. "Why wouldn't I dare? You said you wouldn't avenge yourself in public," Aaron explained matter-of-factly, then sat down on the stool calmly. Aaron's bold move left all the students speechless in shock. No one had ever dared to do this before. Some of the professors at the guest table looked at Aaron with varying expressions, admiration, frowns, or dumbfoundedness, but most were intrigued. "Professor McGonagall, you can start," Aaron said lightly. "Oh." Professor McGonagall froze for a moment, then carefully placed the Sorting Hat on Aaron's head. "Huh?" As soon as the Sorting Hat was on Aaron's head, its expression became extremely astonished. "How is it possible? I thought you were just grandstanding, but I didn't expect you to be more difficult than the one just before. You are not lacking in courage, with unparalleled bravery, a tough character, a clever mind, and a strong thirst for knowledge hidden in your heart. Most importantly, you have extremely high talent and potential. I have seen countless students in the past 1,000 years, and among them, no more than 10 have reached your level, but none have had such powerful magic at the age of 11. Are you really only 11 years old?" "Isn't this nonsense?" Aaron said, exasperated. "And don't you think you've said too much? Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. After all, the wizarding world is much bigger than Hogwarts. So, have you made up your mind yet?" "No, you have to give me some time to think about it. You are so well-rounded. Every house is especially suitable for you. What is your purpose in coming to school, or what do you desire most? Is it necessary to ask so clearly?" Aaron said uncomfortably. He could clearly feel that the hat was probing his thoughts, but it was destined not to see any secrets due to his perfect level of occlumency. "Of course it is," the Sorting Hat said. "Some people desire knowledge, some desire power, some desire resources, and some desire—" "I don't care about what you said. What I long for is true friendship. Friendship? That's a rarity. Since it's friendship, Slytherin, the Sorting Hat shouted loudly. The results were announced, and the Slytherin students applauded loudly, while the Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw students all sighed in disappointment. They had all heard the Sorting Hat's evaluatee on and knew that Slytherin had gained a very promising student. Sure enough, Aaron murmured to himself. He then picked up Abe and walked over to the Slytherin table. Professor McGonagall put away the freshman list and the Sorting Hat before returning to her seat. Draco greeted Aaron warmly, flanked by his two followers, and the prefect also welcomed him enthusiastically. Aaron even noticed Professor Snape, the Slytherin head, nodding slightly at him from the guest table, which made him feel a bit flattered. Aaron, I knew you would be assigned to Slytherin. Only Slytherin is worthy of a genius like you. Didn't you see how ugly Weasley's face got just now? Draco said happily. Hey, that's too much, Aaron replied, waving his hand dismissively. I never thought of myself as a genius. As for Weasley's face, that's none of my business. Ding, ding, ding! Professor McGonagall tapped her cup with a golden spoon. Please pay attention, she announced. Dumbledore stood up from the main seat, raising his hands and smiling at the students below. Now the banquet begins. As he spoke, the 4 long tables were instantly filled with all kinds of food. In front of Aaron alone, there were beef, lamb chops, pork chops, potatoes, pudding, pea sprouts, carrots, corn, and more, enough to satisfy even the pickiest eaters. Abe jumped onto the table in front of Aaron, pointing at the chicken legs with his small paws and looking at Aaron with longing eyes. All right, I got it, Aaron said with a smile, placing the desired food in front of Abe. At that moment, a gray and white ghost emerged from under the table and stopped right next to Draco, across from Aaron. Draco was so startled that he dropped his fork onto his plate. Don't worry, that's the Bloody Baron, the ghost of our Slytherin house, an older student explained. Although ghosts posed no threat to the living and floated everywhere in the hall, the Bloody Baron was particularly frightening. His haggard appearance and the silver blood spots on his robe made him look like a deranged murderer. Sitting across from him, Aaron felt quite stressed and sympathized deeply with Draco, who was sitting right next to the ghost. After more than half an hour of dining, the food and tableware disappeared from the tables, leaving them clean once again. Aaron, feeling satisfied, sat back in his chair, noticing that the pet in his arms had gained a bit of weight. All right, it's time for bed. But before that, let's do one last activity and sing the school song, Dumbledore announced excitedly, as if this was the highlight of the entire sorting ceremony. Hogwarts has a school song? Aaron asked a nearby freshman in surprise, but the freshman looked just as clueless. Aaron then turned to a senior, who wore an expression of bitterness and dread, clearly not looking forward to the song. Dumbledore flicked his wand, and a golden ribbon floated out, displaying the lyrics. Hogwarts, 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 please teach us knowledge, whether we are bald old men or the kid who broke his knee. Everyone, choose your favorite tune, Dumbledore said cheerfully. Ready to sing. The next moment, an extremely noisy cacophony filled the hall. The chaotic mix of tunes and the somewhat ridiculous lyrics created a discordant symphony. Aaron had the urge to cover his ears, but doing so in public would be inappropriate. In desperation, he hugged Abe to his head. Abe's front paws covered Aaron's ears under his hat, while its hind paws pressed against Aaron's ears. It was a clever and discreet solution, almost unnoticeable unless one looked closely. Chapter 19, Tasks for Year 1. After dinner, the Slytherin prefect led the freshmen to the basement, pointing to a stone door set in a damp stone wall. This is the entrance to the common room. The password changes every 2 weeks. This week's password is Glory. The stone door opened, and everyone entered the common room one by one. It was a translucent lounge at the bottom of the lake, with a fireplace, sofas, and coffee tables in the center and along the walls, and several bookshelves. The surrounding walls were made of black marble, and the ceiling was a transparent semicircle carved from crystal. When you looked up, you could see sparkling waves, and through the windows, you could spot huge octopuses or other strange creatures, making it feel like an underwater museum. The boys' dormitory is on the left, and the girls' dormitory is on the right. Your suitcases have already been sent to your respective dormitories. If you have any questions, you can come to me, or you can go to Dean Snape. We will help if we can. That's it. Get some rest early. You have to go to class tomorrow morning. The beds in the dormitory had been prepared, which made everyone feel a lot more relaxed. After all, they were exhausted physically and mentally after a long day. In this situation, nothing was more attractive than falling asleep. Aaron opened his suitcase and took out a small soft bed from it. He carefully placed it inside, then covered it with a towel. After changing into his pajamas, he lay down on the bed. As soon as he closed his eyes, he felt boundless drowsiness. But at that moment, he suddenly realized he hadn't signed in today, so he hurriedly opened his eyes. System, sign in, Aaron said silently in his heart. Congratulations to the host for signing in at Hogwarts and earning 10 magic points. How much? Aaron immediately felt relieved. To be honest, he had expected Hogwarts sign-in rewards to be relatively generous, but his psychological expectation was 5 magic points. Receiving 10 magic points, 5 times the usual amount, was truly surprising. The host heard correctly, 10 magic points, 2 digits. Additionally, Hogwarts holds a special significance in this world. The first time you sign in, you can activate the system task function. After completing tasks, you can earn magic points and various magical items. Would the host like to enable it? Turn it on. It must be turned on, Aaron shouted from the bottom of his heart, filled with emotion. After 3 years, he finally saw a path that could save many years of struggle. It was impossible to give up now. Okay, now releasing the 3 system tasks for the host's first school year. Help Slytherin win the House Cup. Completing the mission rewards 500 magic points, and there is no penalty for mission failure. Will the host accept it? Accept. Aaron didn't hesitate. This task was nothing to him. Slytherin was synonymous with excellence at Hogwarts. They had won the House Cup for 6 consecutive years. Maybe the 7th one wouldn't require much effort, and he could earn the task reward while lying down. Gain the approval of at least 3 professors. Completing the mission rewards 500 magic points, and there is no penalty for mission failure. Will the host accept it? Accept! Aaron still didn't hesitate. There weren't many professors at Hogwarts, and it wouldn't be difficult to gain the approval of 3 with his talent. Destroy Voldemort's remnant soul. Completing the mission rewards 1,000 magic points, and 500 magic points will be deducted for failure. Will the host accept it? This. Aaron hesitated now. It was true that Voldemort was very weak at the moment, but he was definitely not something Aaron could handle as an intermediate magician. Even reaching the level of an advanced magician might not be enough to be his opponent, so the possibility of failure was very high. System, can I ask someone to help me with this task? Yes, but the host must participate in it, and the contribution level must exceed 50%. Otherwise, it will be judged as a mission failure. Okay, accept, Aaron said firmly. As the saying goes, fortune favors the bold. At worst, he could recruit 2 professors to help. He didn't believe he couldn't handle a remnant of Voldemort's soul. But who is Voldemort's remnant soul attached to now? He remembered a certain professor who was difficult to deal with. When choosing teammates, he had to be cautious about potential traitors. The next morning, Aaron opened his eyes, feeling well-rested. Perhaps it was the excitement of the new check-in location, or maybe it was the absence of an alarm clock or someone knocking on the door. He had slept until he woke up naturally. After changing into his wizard robe, Aaron looked at the sleeping baby dragon in the basket. After some thought, he decided to take it with him. Although bringing pets to class was not recommended, this was a dragon. Even if Abe looked harmless, Aaron didn't want to leave him alone in the dormitory. What if he got lost? Aaron, are you awake? Draco approached with 2 sleepy attendants. Just woke up not long ago, Aaron nodded, a bit surprised. Do you usually wake up this early? Just barely, Draco said proudly, then glared at the 2 behind him. These 2 are lazy. It took forever to wake them up. But Aaron, didn't your parents arrange followers for you? Aaron froze for a moment, thinking of the chattering butler and the mages who followed him secretly. A wry smile appeared on his face. Maybe they did, but I don't want them to disturb my campus life. What do you mean? I'm sorry, I can't explain it fully, but the followers of our family might be a bit different from what you understand. Draco nodded, half understanding. Though curious, he wisely didn't press further. The four of them left the dormitory together, had breakfast in the cafeteria, and then headed to the Transfiguration classroom. They arrived early, and the classroom was nearly empty, except for a cat on the podium. Besides the two Gryffindors, only the four of them from Slytherin were present. Aaron and Draco sat at a table, with Crabbe and Goyle taking the seats behind them, as usual. Aaron, Hermione pointed to Abe, who was placed on the table by Aaron, looking both happy and worried. Why did you bring it to the classroom? I can't help it. This guy is so small, I don't feel comfortable leaving him in the dormitory, Aaron explained. I remember the school doesn't have a rule against bringing pets to class. It's okay, but it feels a bit impolite. Thank you for your concern. If necessary, I'll explain to Professor McGonagall. Abe is different. He's family. He means a lot to me and my family. Seeing Aaron's seriousness, Hermione couldn't argue further and turned her attention to her textbook. After a moment of hesitation, Draco whispered to Aaron, I checked yesterday. Granger's parents are both muggles. Well, what's the matter? Aaron asked. Draco's eyes widened in surprise. You know, why are you still friends with her, a mudblood? Hush! Keep your voice down. Aaron hurriedly covered Draco's mouth, but it seemed too late. Several people in the classroom had heard, including Hermione Granger. She looked deeply hurt, her breathing hitched, and her eyes reddened, though she tried her best not to cry. Crabbe and Goyle just watched, and even the only other Gryffindor in the classroom didn't know how to comfort her. Hermione, don't be angry. Aaron was at a loss. It was the first time he had faced a girl's tears, and he didn't know how to respond. Aaron sighed and finally said, Leave it to me. I'll handle it. For now, I'll leave Abby here with you. He placed the adorable cat on Hermione's table. The sight of the cute feline slightly lifted Hermione's spirits. Aaron, relieved, turned to face the indifferent Draco and said calmly, Apologize. Why should I? Was I wrong? She really doesn't deserve to be your friend, Draco retorted, his voice filled with resentment. It was clear he was displeased with Aaron's defense of Hermione, whom he gutturally referred to as a mudblood. Draco, noble blood is no excuse for your contempt, and how I choose my friends and what kind of friends I make has nothing to do with you, Aaron replied patiently. But Draco began, but he knew he was being unreasonable. He had no right to interfere in Aaron's affairs. However, the thought of apologizing to a mudblood was something his pride and his father would never allow. I can't apologize to a mudblood, Draco insisted. I knew you would say that, Aaron said, shaking his head in exasperation. Let's make a small bet. If your grades are better than Hermione's this semester, you won't need to apologize, and I will owe the Malfoys a favor on behalf of the Gaius family. But if your grades are not as good as Hermione's, then you must apologize to her and never use the word mudblood again. How about it? Chapter 20. Performance in Transfiguration Class. Draco was stunned. In fact, everyone in the classroom was stunned. What no one noticed was that the pupils of the cat on the podium also shrank slightly, as if someone had stepped on its tail. None of them thought that Aaron would do this for a Gryffindor girl. This was a favor given in the name of the family. If used well, it could play a considerable role in the future. The favor of a family of hidden magicians is not something to be taken lightly. How about it? Do you agree to make this bet with me? Aaron asked confidently, certain that Draco could not refuse. Agreed. How could I disagree? But Aaron, are you serious? Draco asked, still in disbelief. I believe in my vision. Hermione's background may not be noble, but she is definitely the best wizard I have ever seen. But before the end of this term, I ask you to show some respect to Hermione. You can always do that, can't you? Okay, no problem, Draco said happily. After dealing with Draco, Aaron walked up to Hermione. Now you can calm down. I gave you a chance to prove yourself openly. Yeah, Hermione nodded, though she asked a little nervously. In case I let you down, in case I lose. You won't lose. You may only be a little weaker than me in terms of learning. But what if? Hermione asked. It was the first time in her life that she had doubts about her abilities. Don't worry about it. Even if you lose, Draco will restrain himself a lot. At least he won't use the word mudblood casually to insult people. As for the favor of the family, it doesn't matter. Malfoy sees the situation better than anyone else, and they will not make any demands that are difficult for others. "Thank you," said Hermione, blushing, and handed Aaron back his book. Draco is actually not a bad person. It's just that his father has instilled too many thoughts related to bloodlines since he was a child, so he may be a little domineering. I don't think he can change it for a while. I hope you don't mind, Aaron said before walking up to another Gryffindor. "This classmate, what's your name?" "Susan Bones," the girl blushed slightly and said with some embarrassment. "Okay, I don't want this bet to be known by others. You should be able to keep it a secret." Susan kept nodding, indicating that she would never speak out. "Thanks." As time passed, the students gradually arrived in the classroom and opened their books to start self-study. The strange thing was that Professor McGonagall did not appear even when it was class time. Suddenly, the classroom door was flung open, and Harry and Ron ran in, panicked. "It's finally here. If she came a little later, her face would be terrifying," Ron said happily. The moment the words left his mouth, the cat on the podium jumped down and transformed into Professor McGonagall in a green robe. She walked straight up to the two of them and looked at the late students playfully. "This move is really clever," Ron said in a daze. It was unclear if he meant Professor McGonagall's transfiguration or her use of it to catch them. "Thank you for your comment, Mr. Weasley. Maybe I should turn Mr. Potter and you into a pocket watch so at least one of you can keep time." "We're lost," said Harry. "Then it will become a map," Professor McGonagall said bluntly. "You don't need a map in your seat." The two looked at each other and smiled wryly, then sat at an empty table. "Now that everyone is here, let's start class. Transfiguration is the most complex and dangerous form of magic you will study at Hogwarts," said Professor McGonagall, giving Ron and Harry a glare. "Anyone who misbehaves in my class, I'll ask them out and never let them in again." Aaron's face was a little weird, and so were Draco's, Hermione's, and others. Although there was no problem with the bet between them, it would be different if a professor knew about it. At least the pressure on both parties would be greater. "Professor, that—" Aaron hesitated, unsure if he should speak. "I don't know what happened, before the class," Professor McGonagall said, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Do you understand the matter between you?" Professor McGonagall asked with a smile. "Understood," Aaron nodded, feeling relieved. Professor McGonagall began her lecture. "Magic is not just about waving a wand and chanting a spell," she explained. She delved into the theory for a long time, occasionally checking the notes of a few students. After confirming that there were no issues, she moved on to demonstrate the transfiguration technique. With a light wave of her wand, the matchbox on the lecture table opened, and the matches inside flew onto the desks of every student. "Try it, everyone, and see if you can turn this match into a needle before class is over," she instructed. Eager to try, every student drew out their wands. However, the results were not as promising as they had hoped. Most of the matches didn't move. Hermione tried several times, and her match gradually turned into a toothpick. Although it was a bit crude, it was at least a change. "Very good, Miss Granger," Professor McGonagall praised. Draco glanced at Hermione, a flash of determination in his eyes. He swung his wand with more force. The match quickly changed, its tail beginning to sharpen. But before he could celebrate, the tip of the match started to smoke, and a small flame flickered before quickly extinguishing. "Mr. Malfoy, your performance is not bad, but it would be even better if you could control your emotions a little more." Professor McGonagall smiled. Draco didn't respond. He just stared at the match, now almost a quarter burned, and sighed deeply. He had tried his best, and it was better than most of the students, including Harry Potter. However, he knew he probably wouldn't be able to surpass Granger, a Muggle born in Transfiguration. But there were other subjects, and he didn't believe he would be outdone by her in everything. At that moment, he noticed another match on the table and looked at Aaron, who was teasing a cat, with some surprise. "Aren't you going to try?" "Sorry, I was just watching your hard work," Aaron replied. He waved his wand lightly and tapped the match. Instantly, the match began to change shape. Both ends sharpened rapidly, the middle shrank and a small needle eye appeared at the end. Although it was still made of wood, it resembled a wooden needle. This is amazing. You succeeded on your first try, Draco said, almost incoherently. Professor McGonagall approached upon hearing the commotion. When she saw the wooden needle on the table, she beamed with pride. It seems that Slytherin has received a very talented student this year. Aaron Gaius? Slytherin earns 5 points. Her voice was so clear that everyone in the classroom heard it, and they all looked at Aaron enviously. Thank you, Professor, but can you teach me how to turn it into iron? Aaron asked. I'm afraid that's not possible. I believe in your talent, but that's not something a first year should attempt, Professor McGonagall replied with a smile. She then turned the wooden needle back into a match. Before that, you need to master the basics. Keep practicing. Okay, Aaron nodded regretfully. He then waved his wand again, turning the match into a wooden chicken leg and tossed it in front of his pet. Abe, the cat, immediately became excited. He jumped to the chicken leg and sniffed it with his nose. After a moment, Abe showed an angry expression and slapped the chicken leg back into its original match form, leaving a shallow paw print on the table. Wow! Professor McGonagall exclaimed in astonishment. I think I may have to take back what I just said, Mr. Gaius. You have already made significant progress in transfiguration. But, she pointed at Abe, who was now grinning in pain from slapping the table too hard. Are you sure this is just an ordinary cat? Aaron immediately hugged Abe in his arms. Of course, I'm sure. Certainly. Please provide the text from the novel that you would like me to clean up and enhance.